Hello and welcome to December 20th, Sunday, December 20th, of the December Dash daily live streams. We are two-thirds of the way through the month, through the contest, through the December Dash, and man, it creeps up on you if you're not careful, right? So hopefully a lot of you have been, or all of you, have been working really hard. I know some of you have really ramped up over the last several days, and it's going to help a lot with what what comes from that, if that makes sense. Um, just based on momentum. Now, we talked about uh, consistency, why that's vital to growth, common myths. We talked about, I believe we talked about momentum yesterday, didn't we? Because I have listed for topics today instant energy and how to stack the deck in your favor, which is a pretty interesting topic because once you, and those of you who have recently gone through this experience will definitely be able to relate more than others. And it could be at many different levels. So, what I mean by instant energy is it's more of a dopamine slash adrenaline. It's not, it's fleeting, it does not last forever, but there's a way to manufacture more scenarios that produce that kind of energy, instant energy, based on how you do things. If you're following what I teach, right? Um, Not every scenario is going to be like that, but there are a few key ones that play out. So I'll give you a few examples of those. How to use that to your advantage, of course, because you don't want to just get a bunch of energy and then go do something else with it. You want to do something towards the business with it, right? Make crash through even more walls, right? Run through even more walls. So let's talk about a few of those examples. The first one that, actually, you know what? First off, hello, hi, good morning. How's everybody doing? Tune in. Tell me where. Screwed it up again. There it is. Um, Tell me where you're tuning in from. Love to hear from you. Know who's on the call with me initially. I'm going to pull up the comments now. Let me just kind of ratchet down a couple gears, and then I will give you a couple of great or not case studies, but several great examples of how to uh, manufacture instant energy and then what to do with it. Okay. So I'm going to refresh the Facebook group here so I can go directly into those comments. I also have the restream comments up for those of you who are not in the group, maybe on the page, the Ring Ads page, or over on YouTube. I'll be able to, excuse me, I'll be able to see your comments as well. And let's see, there's comments. Hold on, see if I can by instant energy to enlarge here. The screen, I mean. Trying to get you to show me all the comments. Come on, Facebook. I'll be able to see your comments as well. There we go. Okay. I hate how it automatically unmutes. Like they really got to work on something like that for creators. I don't always want to be in the creator studio, especially if I'm live streaming to multiple places. They should know better than that, and I should be able to see a comment stream very, very quickly. And also, their comment stream should be enabled to be accessed from things like Restream Chat. That's kind of crazy. You can do pages on Facebook, but you can't respond to they can't people can't see my responses from the Restream app inside of a Facebook group, so I have to post in a couple different places. Not really a bitch or gripe or moan or anything. It's just an inconvenience that you guys are going to have to bear with me on while the audio clicks over. Anyway, that said, looks like we've got Questi on, Mohammed's on, Tim Blank is on, Rob Cornick is here, Steve Taylor, David Bennett, Scott Moody. Cool. Okay. Mohammed's asking what the topic is for today. I think we already covered that, but we're going to cover the topic here in just a second. Wanted to ratchet down and get the comments up so I could see what everybody's saying and who all's here. Okay, so now back to where we were. Now we can kick things back into high gear. So one good example of this is let's say that you need uh, to drive phone calls in order to know that you can do it, right? Um, Several people fit into this boat. I'd say it's about half and half. Half of the people believe me, and half of the other people believe me, yet they need proof themselves that they did it themselves. Meaning that they know now that they can run ads to drive phone calls. For some reason, half of the people, which I think is a pretty decent percentage or pretty decent ratio, because you would expect that most people wouldn't believe me, right? So that's good. That says something about what we do for a living. Like it's actually trustworthy on its face in most cases. Um, in the other cases, it's almost immediately proved, right? Um, as soon as somebody sets up a campaign and runs calls to what we call a flyant, right? So I'm talking about that. And the one specific instance I'm thinking of that'll boost your energy through the roof, and it's unexpected. Well, it's expected, but it's also unexpected. So let me explain. You set up a campaign, you get some phone calls coming in, you're in doubt that you can do it, but when the phone calls come in, and then you hear that they're legit, right? That they're qualified, in other words, that you could sell those, and then you know approximately how much you could sell those for, and then you realize how long it took you to do all that and how long it would take you to duplicate it, even less time to duplicate it. Your brain really starts going into this holy shit mode, in a good way. The adrenaline hits, the dopamine hits. What do you do with it though? Right? That's a key moment. What do you end up doing with it? Do you use that energy to build out all the rest of the agency stuff that you haven't built out yet because you've been hesitating because you don't even know if you can drive phone calls, that kind of a thing? Do you use that time, if you've already got that stuff done, do you use that time to sharpen your axe and study the sales script so that you can actually project the correct amount of urgency and reassurance on the script and tonal patterns, right? Um, did you set up your prospecting stuff? So everything from email templates and emailing to Dialer Central with Ringo's voicemail voice broadcasting. Did you set all that stuff up? If you haven't yet, that would be the perfect time to do that. So it's kind of, yes, you expect that that energy boost is going to come. When it comes after you start the campaign, could be an hour after you refresh the screen, could be the next day, right? Should be relatively quick though, within a couple, 2, 3 days. So within a 2, 3 day time period, that's when that first one's going to hit. And that's maybe not the first example, but definitely one of the first after you've committed to building your agency. So another good example of that would be for instant energy and how to use it after you get it is going to be, let's see, what would come next? It's going to be your first client, 100%. When you get your first client, you're going to use that instant energy to go through and smash right through the onboarding and setup of that client, including any systems and processes you can think of along the way. You'll be fine tuning that, of course, with the next client and the next client and so on and so on. But the idea is use the instant energy to get even more work done on that client. Now, if you have there's a caveat here, or like a not an exception, but something to be aware of. So if you're in the middle of a prospecting window and you get a client, you don't just stop prospecting. You committed that 2 hours or that 4 hours to prospecting. Keep prospecting, right? Use that time to keep prospecting, keep filling the pipeline, because you will find that instant energy when that hits, it shows on the phone. And next thing you know, you have 2 clients, and then 3 clients, and then 4 clients, and then it's a 5 client day from 4 hours. Whereas if you'd have taken the instant energy right away and started working on that one client, you would have just had one. Now you've got the end of your day, no more time left to work, but you told them 48 to 72 hours. You told them all that, right? To set up their account, get everything moved over. So you got time, and you've got 5 clients to do it for, and it's not going to be that much more work compared to uh, taking care of just one client. Like it's maybe an additional 10 minutes each client. That's not that bad. That's really not that bad. So a couple hours and you've got 5 clients set up on the next day versus one client fully set up, with some systems and processes. I'd rather take the next couple of hours on the next day, set the first couple of hours. So if I did a 4 hour prospecting and got 5 clients, and then I did a 4 hour the next day, I'd take 2 hours of that second day, that first 2 hours of that second day, and I'd put it towards building out the campaigns, onboarding, all that. I'd take the other 2 hours, the last 2 hours of that, and I'd go right back and work on systems and processes. And now I've got 5 clients fully set up, systems and processes, versus possibly 2 clients if I went and did the same process I just did the other way. So one client set them up fully, dial in systems and processes, 4 hours, one client fully done, and the same happens the next day. Now, is there a right or a wrong way? No. Both ways work. Both ways you acquire more clients. One you end up with 2 clients, one you end up with 5, and all the systems and processes on both, right? So There's no wrong way to do it. There's a faster way to do it, a more efficient way to do it. I mean, one that's 150, no, wait, is it 150% more clients in the same amount of time? For those of you that are worried about you may not have enough time, you need to start looking at your schedule. I mean, if you look at, I'll pull up a calendar. If you look at a calendar, let's see what we got here. If you look at a calendar, put that right there and screen. So if we look at a calendar, right? Look at the dates that are available, right? Look at the dates that are available for prospecting. We have tomorrow afternoon, right? All day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, and half a day here. So half a day, full day, half a day, uh, prospecting, right? Like if I were you, I'd start filling the pipeline. So I mean, me, I would look at emailing. I'd look at dialing, definitely dialing, and ringless voicemail, voice broadcasting, dialing. Definitely dialing on Tuesday and Wednesday, right? And on Christmas Eve in the morning, up to noon, really, noon local time, based on wherever you're calling. And then in the evening, Christmas Eve, spend time with family if you got it. If you don't have it, or if you're not doing anything for Christmas, because I know some of you aren't, and that's okay. That's a perfect time for you while everybody else is sleeping or dealing with family to come in and start setting up campaigns. Christmas Day, perfect time to set up campaigns. Perfect time to set up campaigns. Because I'll tell you right now, any client you get this week is not expecting a call. If they get one, great. If they don't, they know it's going to take 48 to 72 hours, which means business hours, which means they know Christmas Eve no good, Christmas Day no good, then it's the weekend. They're not expecting it to even see shit till maybe here, but definitely after January, right? So you got some time, especially if you manage those expectations, right, for this week and next week to hit Monday through Thursday, but half a day, full day, half a day. And if I were you prospecting, I mean, I recommend you don't do any more than 4 hours a day on prospecting. So if when I say full day, I mean 4 hours of that. So there are other things you can do if you actually have a full day that week. But if you're working and you can squeeze out 4 hours, then squeeze out 4 hours, right? And then half a day in the afternoon on Monday. So again, 2 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours, well, you could probably get 4 hours in the morning actually up to noon. So that's pretty cool because that's a great day to hit. Seriously, guys, you need to be planning on making this your opus, your biggest fucking day ever. Okay, um, and the same here. Both of those days are great, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So look at it. You've got 2 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours, 4 hours. That's 12 plus 2 is 14 hours. If you pull in a client an hour and a half, that's what's that, like 9 clients or something? Almost double digits in 3 days. Well, 3.5, 4 days time, right? While everybody's doing Christmas. That's a real Merry Christmas right there, if you ask me, because 9 clients represents a lot of money, right? Actually, in a lot of verticals, 10 clients, 9, 10 clients represents six-figure business annually in most verticals. Maybe not all, but a lot of them. Okay. Um, so then you've got the weekend, like I said, Christmas Day. Not saying you have to spend all of Christmas Day setting shit up. I told you how long is it going to take you to set up campaigns? 2 hours, right? And then maybe what you do on Saturday is you take another 2 hours and you work on the systems and processes for those 5 clients or 9 clients that you set up, right? So maybe this takes 3 hours on Christmas Day. Still not a big deal. 3 hours out of 24, you got 21 hours to celebrate Christmas. I really don't think that anything bad is going to happen to you because you're working on Christmas Day, especially when it's that kind of work. Now, Saturday on the 26th, Boxing Day or Kwanzaa, right? That is going to be a good day for you, again, weekend wise, to prep for the next week because guess what? You got another 4 days, another 4 day sprint, another 4 day dash here, where Monday afternoon is going to be really good, and then you're going to go all of Tuesday, all of Wednesday, and again half of Thursday up to noon. So there's going to be another 14 hours of prospecting you can do, and then another holiday where New Year's Eve, the holidays at night. So work till noon, get your clients in, right? Go and sleep for a few hours, or take a nap or 45 minutes or whatever is going to suit you the best. Wake up, celebrate New Year's just like everybody else, sleep in even, and wake up on New Year's Day. And instead of just doing nothing, you spend 3 hours building nine clients out, and now you've got 18 clients, right? Which, by the way, unless Art starts picking the pace back up, which we'll talk about in a second, um, 18 would win you the deal. 18 would win the contest, right? I'm just saying, and that's if you're pulling in a client every hour and a half. I think you can do better than that. I've seen much better than that, but again, starting out, if that's where you're at. So if you're in striking distance right now, today, tomorrow morning, of being ready to prospect, that's what you could do. That's what you're looking at game plan wise on prep for the last 2 weeks and what that's going to look like. Uh, Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, proper planning is going to be the what gives you the momentum here." And I'll say this: it's a start. It's a start because when I look at that calendar, all I see is a bunch of days. All I see is a bunch of dates, and none of them have come to pass yet, obviously, except for the one we're currently in. The present is present, and so while we can't count on tomorrow, we do need to at least have a game plan, loosely or flexible about it, to what we're going to do. But if I were you, that's what I would do over the next 2 weeks, um, based on what I see, and know about the industry and how our sales are going to go, what most people are going to be doing with their time, especially this year more than ever. Um, People are going to be sitting around waiting on a phone call like this. Like if there was one time that they would entertain a conversation like this for the people who normally don't, this would be that one time or one of those few times. And these opportunities don't come along very often like that. And I'm not talking about, oh, they come around once a year, holidays. Yeah, kind of, but not like this because, again, it's, think perfect storm where we've had a hell of a year and it's impacted a lot of businesses. We're not through it yet, and holiday season, right? So, um, there's a lot going on with that where people are looking at that, and they're looking at their business differently. Let's say it that way. Even the ones who are some of the more successful places of business that have been around for years and years, if even if they won't admit it out, verbally, out into the world, I guarantee you that's what's going on behind their eyelids. I guarantee it. Um, and that gives us an opportunity to speak to them in a place where they're in a place that they would be open to listening to us more than they maybe used to be. And I'm not talking about across the board. I'm talking about those select few that say no absolutely every time, right? They're going to be more open to an actual opportunity, from people like us who have actual opportunities and not telemarketers. Again, not bashing telemarketers, but that's not what we do. That's not who we are. We know our product, we sell our product, we create our product. Uh, that's why we know it's good. So yeah, that I guess you're wondering why I kind of went into that. And the biggest thing I can tell you is as I look at that calendar, right? Let me pull the calendar back up. As I look at that calendar, um, man, hold on. As I try to look at the calendar, there we go. As I look at the calendar, I just gave you a game plan, right? Which, again, it's got to be flexible, got to work with what you got. But over the next 2 weeks, if you use that, what that's going to do is 9 clients in the course of 3 days worth, over 4 days actually, but 3 days worth of dialing. Christmas Day, what are you gonna? I mean, a lot of people are like, man, you're gonna be wiped out. You're gonna be tired as hell, and yeah, physically you'll probably be not the greatest, in the greatest of shape. But I mean, it's Christmas Day. Who cares? You're gonna sit around while the kids run around you anyway, right? And put a smile on your face, and that's a good day. That kind of relaxing. Couple hours of work on Christmas Day when you wake up from that, and you're golden, right? Same thing on Kwanzaa or Boxing Day and Sunday again, prep, along with finishing that up. But I'm telling you right now, the energy you're going to have Christmas Eve and into Christmas Day, even though that's the case, because this happens to be the day that you wake up and you've got 9 or 10 clients from the week, and it's like what, right? It's almost surreal. almost surreal. And I'm telling you right now, that kind of instant energy, you can use that to power through that. I mean, 2 weeks of that, by the time you hit January, even, you'd have double digits clients solid. You'd be in a position to, over the next few weeks, start looking at your first hire, right? That's a hell of a way to start 2021. You're in hiring mode. You're in growth mode, hiring and growth mode. Everybody else, where are they at? Most likely not there, right? Now, your clients, your goal is to get them there, right? Get them back there, let's say, in a lot of cases. And that's what I love about what we do, right? We help people out way more than they may realize even initially. Anyway, that's what I'm looking at for the days in terms of instant energy. You should be powering through, and then New Year should be uh, you should be very energetic. I mean, you should be starting the 4th of January with a completely different outlook. But you've got to dig in here, right? That's the caveat. That's the condition. That's what your business demands of you, right? That's the sacrifice here that you have to make. Am I saying you have to? Notice I'm talking about 2 weeks, double digit clients, really almost 20 clients even, could be 20. Depends on what you do. But the idea is tons of clients, tons of follow up to do into the new year, by the way, ready to start looking at your first hire. I mean, you got systems and processes down enough for that too. That's pretty solid. I mean, and you already know it based on what I told you is that in most verticals, that's going to be a six-figure income. And if it's 20 clients, yeah, in almost every vertical, save maybe one, it's going to be six figures a year. And you can do that in less than 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks, I say, because it's Monday through Thursday, right? I mean, yes, you're working on those holidays, but everybody else, isn't. I'm just saying. Um, Hell, everybody's still kind of trying to figure shit out and pick up the pieces the first week of January, really. So I'm not saying you have all that time in the world, but you do have some of that time to be able to continue to dial things in, processes wise, systems wise. Put out your first hiring somewhere towards the end of the week. I'm just saying that's yes, it's aggressive, but it's not only possible. I've seen people do this kind of thing and do very, very well with it. So please do not take this for granted. Um, Take advantage, right? Don't take it for granted. Take it for advantage, your advantage, okay? Um, cool. I think we've covered that pretty well in terms of instant energy. There are going to be many times in your life where that happens. You need to know what it feels like and then go, I just got some energy from this happening. Like, for example, some of you may get it. Another good example would be after you deliver your first phone call to your actual first client, because some of you may be doubting you can even do that. After driving good calls and then acquiring clients, now it's whether or not you're thinking whether or not you're going to be able to do it to an actual paid client, for an actual paid client. I don't know why, but there are people out there that think that way sometimes. And for you, you're going to get an energy boost instantly when that happens, when you see that call come through, and you're going to be like, oh shit, okay, and then you're off to the races again. You got to capitalize on that kind of stuff. Got to use it to your advantage, and use things like the momentum that I was talking about yesterday into the final push here. The last two. That's not the final push. That's next week. But the final last half push of the year, of the month of the year, even though it's shorter days in the week, or shorter week rather, excuse me, not shorter days. Actually, tomorrow is the shortest day, excuse me. You know what I meant though. Shortest weeks of the year right here, where everybody mentally is supposedly checked out and you could be getting clients. I'm just saying, it's pretty cool, no doubt. All right, let me grab the link here for the Zoom. I'm going to post that into the two different places here in the group here. I'm going to post it um, into Zoom, or not Zoom, into Restream. I was looking at Restream and was thinking about Zoom. And then questions. If you have questions, come in live, ask away. If you don't want to come in live, ask in the comments, right? I noticed we haven't been hearing from some people here lately, and there's some people I expected to hear from by now and haven't. And I'll tell you this, without calling anybody out, because I don't believe in that, I will tell you that people's instinct for some reason is to stay away as opposed to turn toward when it comes to fight or flight, like we've talked about that before, the fight or flight response. Actually, we talked about that yesterday with the Pitch Anything book. And there's something interesting that happens, when people that initially do that, that's their instinct, meaning they're probably going to do that every time. And unless they become self-aware that they do that to their own detriment, then they're really not going to recover from that every time as easily as they'd like. Um, Now, I'm not saying I'm a voodoo doll or I'm a magic man or anything like that, or a magician, I guess would be the best way to say that. But I do work short miracles, small miracles, no doubt, for your business because I know it that well and I know how to help you for sure. There's never going to be a time you can come to me and I won't have something for you to keep you going in the right direction or course correct 100%. And the more often you do that, not the less often, the more often you do that as you go along, the better off you'll be, right? And I'll tell you something, that the higher client count is not always work to your advantage if you think that it's time for you to do things on your own because you're just getting started, you're just getting warmed up. For those of you who maybe are still at ground zero and haven't reached out lately, um, I don't know, man. Like it's up to you. You got to show up first off, and then if you show up, you gotta engage. I mean, there's no other way to. You can't keep hiding from it, right? Because your business is gonna show it to you every morning that you wake up till you lay your head down on the pillow. What's going on? You're gonna know it. You're gonna feel it at some point like it's being rubbed in your face, not by me, but by your business until you engage me and we course correct, we fix things so that your business starts showing you exactly what you want to see, right? I'm just saying that's kind of where we're at and what we're dealing with. If you're at those different levels, it pays to engage. That's why I say reach out to support before you get frustrated. Keep reaching out, right? And this is the by far the perfect month to do that because I'm on live streams every day. Uh, so far so good. Technically we're 3 weeks in. I mean, tomorrow's 3 weeks of straight live streaming. So yeah, that's I mean, let's get to it, right? Let's keep focused on the things that bring us the success, right? So if that's you, um, take that message to heart and know that I'm not picking on you. I just know that's where you're at, and it's not because I have a crystal ball or because I'm spying on you or something. I'm not a government agency. I don't spy on people like that. I just know. I know that because I've seen it so many times. I mean, um, yeah, I hate seeing that, to be honest, because I know what it also means if it keeps going that way, right? That kind of behavior. And I've seen that many, many times, more times than I'd like. So, enough of that stuff. Just want to make sure everybody's aware of what their problems are and what to do to fix them, and what that's going to mean ultimately, right? Okay. Questions in the comments. Looks like Adrian says, good day, everyone. I hope all is well. I'm asking everyone to give a like on this live stream today. Appreciate that. That's cool. Uh, Everybody saying hello, hello, hello still. No questions? No questions? Really? I feel like Ben Stein on Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Questions? Questions? Bueller? Anyway, if you got questions, let me know. I mean, we've got half an hour. If you want to show me something on your screen, that's what Zoom's for. If you want to ask me live, that's what Zoom's for. There's links posted in the comment section. You can um, come on in, or you can ask via comments, whatever it is you need to do. I'm telling you right now, though, you got to reach out in order to get the help you need, right? 100%. Even when you may not feel like it. I know that sucks. I know that sucks, but it is what it is, right? It is what it is. It's a temporary suck. It's a suck moment out of a fantastic lifetime if you get it right. You know what I mean? All right, looks like we got Rob here. I'm going to let him into the room. What was I going to do? I was going to take attendance. Let's do attendance. So um, let's do, in the comments for attendance, let's do instant energy. Instant energy. Type in instant energy into the comments in the Facebook group. In the Facebook group. And I will mark you present for today, December the 20th. Instant energy. And while that's going on, I'm going to pull this over here so I can keep track of both. There's Adrian, gotcha. And Steve Taylor, gotcha. Garrett, very good. John Smith. It's like everybody was just waiting to write in whatever I wanted them to write in for attendance. It's funny. No questions, but you guys will say instant energy in a heartbeat. Let's see. Tim Blank. I'll get you guys to do what you need to do, one way or the other. We'll make it happen. Did I miss anybody? Bob, you're not on the list technically, but I appreciate your participation. Steve, Garrett, John, Scott. There's Muhammad. Very good. So we're looking for Rob. Did you? I don't see your comment yet. Maybe it just hasn't shown up yet. There it is. Yeah, but joining Zoom is not the same. Okay, we'll cover that in a second, Rob. My instructions are very, very specific for very specific reasons. We're missing Jeff Brewer and Art Tapman. Missing Jeff and Art for attendance. Jeff and Art for attendance. I'm going to leave it at that. Rob, let's have a chat.
Hello, William. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Okay, awesome. Pretty good. I like the plan you laid out for this week. I think I can like get some good hours in, like actually a lot of good hours in.
Most can because of the holiday season. That's kind of why
I
point that out, right?
What I wanted to do though is maybe you could point out some places I can improve on the script.
Okay.
So I have it pulled up, and I just put my company name as like XYZ, and then maybe you could let me know like what I can improve on.
Sure.
All right, let me just get everything I need. Okay.
You have everything else set up? You ready to go?
Yeah, the dialer is good. I have so I'm gonna run it with relative to lead, and I have a bunch of lists for each each time zone. So I have like EST lists, I have MST, CST, and PST. So
okay.
Yeah, I could run it, for like at least 4 hours.
Okay.
All right. Okay, hands on hips, smile and dial. Do you want to go like through a script, like a
you can
like a
if you want
play?
to if you want to share your screen, is it on your screen or are you looking at it printed out?
I have it out on my computer, and
Okay.
I'm on Zoom with my phone.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I think what we're going to do then, I'm going to pull up the script so that everybody
Okay.
else can follow along more or less, even though they won't be able to see the blanks that you filled in. The script everywhere else is pretty much word for word. So let me, I'm in a couple different folders here. Hold on. Let me, updated. There it is. Bam. I'm going to pull this over here. on screen. Okay, so it's no longer on us in Zoom. We're looking at the script.
Mhm.
Go for it.
Okay. XYZ, this is Robert. How can I help you?
Yeah, I got a phone call for some saying something about you had some calls or something.
Yes, I specialize in water damage calls, and I'm looking to provide them directly to a water damage restoration company. Do you need more business right now?
That's not what I taught you to say.
You want me to do like exact, like word for word, how?
Guys, I want you all to listen to me. I want you to look me in my face when I say this. I'm coming back to the Zoom so that everybody can see my face. I'm going to look at the camera and I'm going to be no bullshit, no smart ass, no nothing. I'm going to say it with a straight face because I really, 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 really mean it this time. Exactly as it's written. 100%. Read it as is. Get creative later.
Mhm.
Start again.
Okay. All right. Let me. Second. So what I did was, which this is probably, well, definitely wrong, is while I was doing it, I would like edit a word at a time. So I'm just gonna go to the original and use it exactly how you wrote it.
Here's let's okay, couple things. First off, it's not about right or wrong. Okay, I
Hmm.
want everybody to understand that. You're expecting though to get a result out of this that's similar to what I tell you you can get, right?
Yes.
Not going to happen if you keep fucking with stuff. And it's not just you, Rob. It's everybody that tries this
Mm-hmm.
shit or does this or thinks this or says, "Oh, he doesn't mean it literally." No, I fucking mean it literally because I say I mean it
Mm-hmm.
literally, right? I notice I'm not like super upset, but it's like one of those things where it's like, how in the world can anyone? And it's not singled out to you, Rob. It's just you just happen to be the the designated guy who is showing me that there are still people out there that do not understand what I mean when I say exactly, right? Um, and say the words literally and say word for word and say follow the bouncing dot. I don't. You tell me what and I would really appreciate the input, seriously, 100%.
Okay.
And think of this,
Okay.
think of it this way, because we'll get to the script in a second, don't worry. I got all the time in the world for you, man. Well, I'll make you sing on this one, okay? But I
Mm-hmm.
really need to know this because I think it's going to help so many other people that don't understand, that aren't understanding what I mean when I say it, or help me understand what went through your mind that made you think, you know what, I'm going to do this because, and then insert justification here or insert what you were thinking here. Tell me, not that it's wrong. I just want to know
Mm-hmm.
what you're thinking so that I can steer everybody back to the right. And I say the right, the course that I know is going to deliver the results based on. So I guess technically there's a right and wrong. If you expect the
Yeah.
results that I tell you you can get, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's a technicality, but I don't really consider it a right or wrong because you're free to modify, right? The
Yeah.
script. There's nothing. There's nobody holding you back, except
I'll tell you. I'll tell
yeah.
you why.
Okay, tell me,
It's
please.
sometimes it feels like awkward, like saying, okay, if, for example, if I say I'm the specialist in your area, I don't know. It sounds like, at least to me, obviously, I don't have experience with this.
So
It just
what
sounds
is
like,
okay? Why does that make you feel like a fraud? Because that's why you can't say
it's
it. You're not the specialist. Is that why you feel like you can't say it? See,
kind of,
it's
yeah.
not kind of. That's it. Like, it's okay. You could listen, man. I'm not going to beat you the fuck up. I'm just going to point out, hey, here's where we course correct. I may do it a little bit aggressively. Again, type A, dude.
Hmm.
So,
No, but it's good. I mean, that's why I got on. I want
okay,
to hear the,
perfect. Okay, so when I
yeah,
look at that, I go, okay, but you're not a fraud. You have you set up a campaign to a client yet? Didn't you do that?
yeah. I did
Yeah,
it to
and you've driven
affiliate.
phone
Yeah,
calls, right?
yeah, yeah.
You're the specialist. Nobody else knows how to. I say nobody. Hardly anybody else knows how to do this. Very few people
That's true.
do. And
You know what's funny?
out of the ones who do, how many are still doing it? Some people just
You,
find
you
it
know,
too bullshit for them and they go to something else, Sorry, go ahead.
uh, when I was doing the market research, I
Yeah.
ran into a guy who did his own Google ads,
Uh-huh.
and he was like, "Wait, you do Google ads?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Come to my office. I need you to come here on Thursday. I want to show you what I have. I need you to help me. I need you to teach me." Like he was like freaking out. He's like, "Wait, you know how to do this?"
Right.
So yeah, you're right. People really don't
You're the
know.
specialist. So,
Yeah.
okay, if you're not okay with that word, changing a word uh, is something
Hmm.
where it's like, okay, hey, William, I was looking at that and I don't like. See, here's where you should reach. I guess this is a good point for me to explain this to everybody. You're not comfortable with the word specialist, right? As an example, Rob. So you should be at
Yep.
that point. Fuck, I'm not okay with that. It's what's written on the page, though. And I know he said I got to say that. I'm going to ring him up and ask him about that on the next live stream. Hey, man,
Hmm.
specialist, this and that. I immediately point out the fear of being exposed as a fraud or um, all that kind of stuff. It's not uncommon if you haven't noticed. There's a reason why I know that. Um, there's fear of failure. There's fear of being exposed as a fraud. Even though you have driven phone calls for this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous
Yeah.
how that little devil inside our head tries to convince us that we can't say certain shit like that. Like really? Like who are you self to censor me, right? When I know that I can
Hmm.
drive the calls. Okay. So that would be excuse me, that would be not only an acceptable way to reach out, it would be encouraged. It is encouraged
Hmm.
by me for you to reach out on things like that every time they come up, instead of just making at least initially making your own command decisions without any kind of. Now the good news is you're here now, and that helps.
Hmm.
However, man, how solid would you be on the script right now, the way it needs to be, had you course corrected at the very beginning, right? And that's kind of where I
Yeah.
get into the whole momentum thing. I'm not saying it completely robbed you, but it has robbed you a little bit. Now we've got to work at getting that kind of built back up. So
Hmm.
um, let's. You've got the original script. You're still going to have to fill in the blanks on your own time, though. That's the bitch of that.
Oh, I already put find and replace, so
Okay, so you're
I
good.
got the yeah.
Okay, well, I'm
Yeah.
ready to go when you are. If you want to go through this again with the actual
Yeah,
script,
let's
and
do it.
and
Let's do
okay,
it.
go for it.
All right. XYZ, this is Robert. How can I help you?
Yeah, I got a phone call from you or a missed call.
Yes, I'm the specialist in your area that has live phone calls for water damage restoration
I
coming
don't
in
think you've
every day.
I don't think you've got the updated script, dude. I don't think you've got the updated script because you're saying
Oh, really?
specialist. Yeah, I thought you were saying specialist in. Oh, I know what you're doing. You're using the script for position
The
one. You're using the script for position one. That's what you're using.
mhm.
Uh, Let me see if I can grab a link for this. Hold on.
Okay.
Where would I share that at? Get link. Copy link. I'm going to paste this into. This will help a lot for one thing.
Oops.
That's okay. I got you the link inside of the Zoom chat. You don't have to worry about Facebook. So you should be able to see that there in the chat for Zoom. And we got rid of the word specialist for you. Now for your position one, we have them say that because
It says
they're not going to have problems saying that.
okay. It says you need to request access. I pressed request access.
Oh, you did? Okay. Maybe
Yeah.
this should be the one that's updated in the. Where did you pull the script from? Did you pull it from the Facebook group or
I pulled it from 24 hours to success part 2.
part two? I thought it
Yeah.
was in part one. I thought the link was in part one. I could be wrong on that. Oh, does it not let me? Are you not able to?
It says I have to request access to.
Yeah, I don't want you as an editor though. I want you as a viewer.
Mhm.
Actually, there should be a way to share it. Hold on. Settings. it's going to have to be. Okay, 1 second. Gonna try that again. I'm gonna have to go through and everywhere the script is, I'm gonna have to update it. I need to update the guides anyway. I've been talking about that, so this will be one of the updates, for example. All right, just sent you access here. It should come through shortly. Yeah, it should come through shortly.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I got it.
I
See it.
see you're on there. Okay, so now you can see where I'm at. All right, so this is it right here. You just get straight to the point. No matter what I say, if I say I've got a message, if I say, yes, I know that you're calling about live phone calls that you have coming in, if I say I missed a call, uh, whatever, right? You
Mhm.
still pop off with the same line right here.
Mhm. Oh, well, it's similar. It's just the
Similar,
beginning, right?
but not, yeah. And similar, here's the thing. Every word at the very beginning counts. Every word
Mhm.
counts. If you notice, yes, the intro is the same, and then they say what they're going to say, and then you say, yes, I got live phone calls coming in for people that need water damage or full service restoration company. They're coming in every day. They need to go somewhere right now. Tell me, do you need more business right now? That's exactly how I'd read it. Almost not micro machine man fast, but also not slow as fuck, because it's that doesn't imply urgency, right? So I hit
Mhm.
them right out of the gate. Here's what I got. Here's the problem I'm having. Here's the need. Are you up for this conversation or not? Are you even, you know what I mean? That's what drives the, well, of course I need more business right now, or yeah, I could use some calls right now, or whatever it
Mhm.
is, right? If they say no, thank you for your time, hang up. And I don't say,
Mhm.
thank you for your time, appreciate you. No, like I do on my coaching calls. I do that because I actually love you guys and want to convey that. At the same time, on the phone call, you're bleeding out by the neck. You ain't got time to tell everybody and their brother that you love them, right?
Mhm.
Or share that you appreciate them. So it's thank you for your time. Click, just like they would do to you if
Yep.
they thought you were wasting their time. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying it's payback or anything. I'm just saying it's how business owners handle the phone, if, especially in emergency
Mhm.
times of emergency. So, um, what's the name of the company you've got?
Restoration service calls.
Restoration Service Calls. This is Rob. You go by Rob or Robert?
Robert, I think it sounds
Robert.
more,
Well, it's
yeah,
definitely
business.
less playful, less
Yep.
childlike. Yep, Robert. I like it. So I'll start calling you Robert from now on. So it's Restoration Service Calls. This is Robert. How can I help you? And I almost you hear like the at the end, almost like I'm not completely fed up with answering it the phone that way, but like I've been paid $8 an hour to answer the phone that way,
Hmm.
if that makes
Hmm.
sense. Okay.
Okay.
And then go right into, yeah, I've got live phone calls for people that need full service restoration for their house, flood, and all that kind of stuff coming in every day. They need to go somewhere, and I mean right now. Tell me, do you need more business right now? And that really
Yes.
lays it out. Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Everything else
almost
is
done.
pretty much the same, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I've reworded anything else except for that initial line. And again, I think you've got a hold of the script that is, for some reason, the position one, what you teach your
Hmm.
position one. So the opener, what we call the opener as you scale. So when you get to 20, 30 clients and you do so in a reasonable time frame, like within a month or so, you're going to be able to hire your first staff member, and your first staff member spends 4 hours a day reading this out using a predictive dialer, something like Prospect Boss, where they can dial a few hundred phone calls a day, like 300 to 400 numbers a day, and get people to answer and say exactly what I just said about the specialist, right?
Hmm.
Right. That's
Okay.
it's. I'm thinking even maybe it's optional, but it tends to work the best, right? For
Hmm.
them, that
Yep.
specialist, because they have no qualms about saying it. They don't have any hangups on saying it. Um, they're looking for people that, as long as they're conveying the urgency and you teach them how to do that, exactly what I just taught you on those first couple of lines, um, yes, I've got live phone calls for, or yes, I'm the specialist in your area. They need to say that not quickly, but again, yes, I'm a specialist in your area. I've got live phone calls coming every day for people that need, right? So you can
Yep.
get rid of that. It is an option. It's something that um, I know kind of contradicts what I just said about reading the script exactly, but the difference is uh, if you're changing things, other things in the script because of um, one word, and that's maybe where you started, okay, then you end up with something completely different because if you
Hmm.
notice, we changed specialist out or specialist in your area. Everything else in terms of urgency, the tonal patterns, what we have, which are live phone calls for insert vertical here, coming in every day, need to go somewhere right now, all that's still there, right? Tell me, do you need more business right now? All that's still there. Nothing else has changed, and that's what drives the interest ultimately, if you notice.
Hmm.
Whereas the first time you read the script about the specialist, everything was completely modified at the end, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, that's not it, because I'm looking right at this, right, and I'm going,
Hmm.
that's not it. So it does make a big difference, believe it or not. And if you don't believe me, for those of you, I'm not talking just to Rob, I'm talking to everybody. If you don't believe me, have fun on the phone. Try it out. Let me know. Let me know what you find. I promise it's not
Yeah,
going to be what you expect.
I'll save you guys because once you start changing one thing, you start changing another thing, and then before I know it, I was totally lost in it.
It's okay.
So
Well, here we are now,
yeah,
right? Here we are now. So
yeah.
let's dive in. I mean,
All
whenever you're
right,
ready, I'm here. I'll play along.
all right, I'm ready. All right. Restoration service calls. This is Robert. How can I help you?
Yeah, I got a missed call.
Yes, I've got live phone calls for water damage restoration coming in every day, and they need to go somewhere like right now. Tell me, do you need more business right now?
Okay, we're gonna back up on this. Um, Normally I'd like to do a complete run through. Here's the thing though.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff is so important at the beginning. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
write down restoration service calls.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Robert, so I can read it as you would read it, and we're going to be able to record it. So I'm just writing this down. Okay. All right. So I'm going to read this through, and you be the business owner for a second. You can say whatever you want to say,
Okay.
doesn't matter. Okay. And this is the
Okay.
speed at which I respond. Okay. So I want you to pay. This is like actual real time. So if anybody's watching this on a replay, slow it back down to normal speed. Otherwise, I'm going to sound like a chipmunk. All right. Okay. So here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Restoration service calls. This is William. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm returning your call.
Yeah, I got live phone calls for people that need full service restoration, and they're coming in every day. They got to go somewhere, and I mean like right now. Tell me, do you need more business right now?
Yeah, I could use some more.
Right. Now, do you see? We'll get to the questions part in a second. Do you see how there was no break, there was no pause? You didn't hear me hardly breathe. It's almost
Mm-hmm.
like, is that guy a robot or is he breathing right now? I know
Mm-hmm.
you can hear me breathing if you back that up and listen to it again, but the idea is this. Um, it's the same pace. The intro is short, but it's the same pace on the bigger line, the bottom line there as the
Oh, I see. I
company.
see.
So it's in other words, restoration service calls is William. How can I help you? Right? They may
Mm-hmm.
have not even caught the name. I don't give a fuck. That's just how I answer the phone, and that's all they need to know, right? They've heard that
Mm-hmm.
when they call up Domino's, Papa John's. I'm just associating here to where it's like, okay, they didn't call a residence, they didn't call a
Mm-hmm.
telemarketing center because nobody fucking answers that way in any of those
Mm-hmm.
places. So they're definitely in the right place because they heard restoration something or other, and then they
Mm-hmm.
hear how can I help you, and they're like stuck in their head of, well, yeah, I got a call, or yeah, I'm calling about your calls that you got, and no matter what they
Mm-hmm.
say, I have to get them on the same page, which is, yeah, I got live phone calls coming in for people that need full service restoration, flooding, things like that. They're coming in every day. They need to go somewhere right now. No pause. Tell me, do you need more business right now? You see what I'm saying? I said
Mm-hmm.
no pause where most people would go this pace. Yes, I got
Hmm.
live phone calls coming in for people that need full service restoration coming in every day, and they need to go somewhere right now. Tell me, do you need more business right? You see how different that is? I'm not bleeding out by the neck.
No urgency. Yeah.
Well, there's urgency, but is it enough on a tipping point? A tipping point. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You don't
It's
have
like,
to be a fucking disclaimer reader, and Micro Machine Man, but you
mhm.
and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, please go look that up on YouTube. It's hilarious from like old ass commercials back in the 80s for toys for kids, but um, you've probably already heard it if you've heard any kind of radio advertising,
Oh
um,
yeah.
or infomercials on TV, even towards the end have that shipping and handling, 695 shipping and handling, right?
Mhm.
It's just it's crazy what they try to jam in, right? And I'm not saying you have to read the entire script that way because we're about to shift gears. So there's a few key places in here to shift gears that we're going to go through, of course, but I just want to make sure that's 100%. I'm not saying you can't take a breath, but man, you really, when you take a breath, it's got to be so you can get right back in it, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
Like you almost need to be on the edge of your seat while you're reading that first line, and then you can kind of after they say yes, then you can kind of everybody else can't see me. Then you can kind of sit back a little bit. You don't have to do this, by the way, but it'll help you shift gears easily. So it's like,
Mhm.
do you need more business right now? Right? You're on the edge of your seat at the desk, um,
Mhm.
and at the edge of the desk, and then as they say yes, you're like, okay. And maybe you lean back a little bit and then you get back into it, but not all the way into it like you would if you were everything hinged on them saying yes, kind of a thing, right? Um, so let's have you read through this again with that in
Okay.
mind,
Mhm.
and we'll take it from there. We'll go in, excuse me, we'll go into your qualifying questions, so you can just go right into
All right.
that, and we'll talk about those as you go through them.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Go.
Restoration Service calls. This is Robert. How can I help you?
Yeah, I've got a phone call. Something about you had phone calls for people that need restoration.
Yeah, I've got live phone calls for full service restoration coming in every day, and they need to go somewhere like right now. Tell me, do you need more business right now?
Well, yeah, I could always use more business.
Great. Just a couple quick questions for you. How big is your service area, and what areas do you cover?
Okay, so here's where we get into the qualifying questions, and I don't necessarily want you reading these off verbatim. These are going to be different based on your vertical. I know that I say
Hmm.
you can start with these. However, there are, if you notice, there are a few key questions you can ask that will really pique their interest, and also at the same time pull information that is necessary. So,
Hmm.
how big is your service area? Uh, what areas do you cover is a good question to start with for this vertical. Absolutely. Um, and do you have an answering service or a dedicated person to answer phone? Right. What hours do you work and do you work weekends? You should already know the answer to that. Like, so it would be
They all
something
said
like,
yes. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's going to be something like, I'm assuming you work weekends, so I'm not even going to ask you like everybody else. Uh,
Mhm.
or I'm assuming like everybody else you work weekends, so I'm not even going to ask you that. You just say that as a preface to, because if they don't work weekends, guess what they're going to say? Well, no, I don't. Right.
Hmm.
And if they
Hmm.
do, they're going to be like, yep, yep, yep. That's where they're at.
Hmm.
Um, and I use that as a preface to ask, well, how many calls do you think you can handle a day, right? Now, here's the thing with these questions, you need to use phrases, and you're going to want to write these yourself. You're going to need to use phrases like share with me, tell me a little bit about, just a ballpark, and can you give me an idea? Share with me, tell me a little bit about, uh, just an idea, ballpark, just a ballpark. All right, those are things that keep things nice and friendly. So we go from this, oh my God, I'm bleeding out from the neck, to they say yes. And it's like, thank fucking God I'm talking to the doctor. And when we talk to the doctor, we may still be in an urgent situation, but we also know that the doctor has the ability to now save our life, if that makes sense. So we're not going to be as hysterical because we found the person we need, right? Potentially. That's what the qualifying
Yep.
questions are, right? Um,
Hmm.
so now it comes down to how you ask these questions. So it's when you ask these questions, you don't just go right in. It's great, just a couple quick questions for you. That's read pretty quickly, like I just did, and then it goes. So tell me, right, right, that kind of thing. Uh,
Hmm.
so tell me a little bit about your service area. Like, how big is it? What areas do you cover? Right.
Okay.
So these are written as more as notes or like kinds of questions you want to ask that are, and then of course you can ask a couple that are vertical specific, but that one happens to be vertical specific because that vertical has a service area, right?
Hmm.
As it were. And a lot of times they don't have a dedicated person answering the phone, but sometimes they do. And so it's good to clarify that if they're the ones that answer the phone because they're the owner in a lot of cases, or if they've hired someone to do that, because whoever that is, you're going to be working with that person a lot, not just the owner,
Hmm.
because I guarantee you they don't know how to answer the phone as well as they need to. Never, never have I ever, okay, maybe I have, but very rarely have I ever met someone at the front desk that is trained on how to actually handle the fucking phone and not just be an appointment setter. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, makes sense.
nobody, and I'm not talking to the standards that you and I are going through a script, right? Because
Hmm.
that's like, this is like some stuff you'd find in a sales seminar, most likely. Um, we need that because we're going to be doing a lot of this. Not that they won't, but that's not their only job if they're at the front of the house, right? If they're at the front of the house taking care, I say front of the house, if they're at the front desk, they're running things other than just the phone. But their phone work could be a lot more improved, significantly improved, could be a
Hmm.
lot better than it currently is. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. And
Okay.
that's every industry. You could make a living just teaching front office people how to fucking answer the phone properly and not turn away business. I've I've heard it all, man. In a lot of cases, believe it or not, they'll turn away business unknowingly or unintentionally, rather. Um, and I'll be like, "What did you think they were fucking asking you for?" And it's like they didn't even stop to think about it. You know why? Because they have four or five other things on their desk, and that's when you have to have the conversation of, "Okay, listen, you got other things you're working on. Totally get it. Your boss will fire you if you do not get this right. However, if the calls that come in through the phone, if the business that comes in through the phone or potential business comes in through the phone and you don't handle it properly, there's not enough jobs for your boss to keep working or keep his crews working. Therefore, somebody's getting fired and eventually the company goes under, which means you're all fucking done. So it's probably a good idea to get this right. So whenever the phone rings, I need you to go into phone mode. And that's when you teach them to have a script. Theirs is going to be much, much shorter. It's going to be one page in most cases so that they can like tape it up, you know what I'm saying? Or something to where
Yeah.
whenever that phone rings, it's right in front of them. They're looking right at it. You know, it's posted right there on their in front of their face, and they just say what they, follow the bouncing dot, right?
Hmm.
And you teach them what I'm teaching you more or less with and they're going to have significant results, significant improvement. They're going to be able to take competitor calls and turn a lot of those, not all of them, but a lot of those that can be turned into business into business. And
Hmm.
all of a sudden your client's happy as hell, not really unless they really know their business and their people, not really understanding what happened. Because what you teach that person at the front desk applies to every phone call they ever get, including the ones they don't get from you.
Ah, I see. I see.
So you show them a 10% increase in business from your phone calls. That represents, if they hold true to the rest of all their calls the same way, that holds true to a 10% increase across their entire fucking business. You follow? That's
Yep. Yep.
this is stuff that you need to be showing. Like, you need to keep a couple of before and after recordings. Hey, Mr. Business Owner, I know that you asked me the other day um, why you're still paying for calls and all that, because you got so much business you don't know if you can grow beyond this point or whatever. And I just wanted to share something with you. So, like, not bragging or anything, just want you to know why it is that way, right? You've seen an increase across all of your business because your people at the front desk are selling better. Here's a good example of before and after. Give them a before and after recording, right? Let them listen to it while you're on the phone with them, the business owner, and then say, that's after working with me for 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever on the phone and using the script that I told her to paste up in front. In fact, if you go to her desk right now, she told me it was taped up right in front of the phone. I bet you'll see it. That's for me. Again, not bragging, Mr. Owner, but this is what's possible if you and I continue not only to work together, but find ways to grow together. So if you're having growth problems, I'm not saying I'm the expert or the end all be all, but if I can drive business your way, I can probably help you figure out how to take on that business. So let's have a talk. You got 5 minutes now? Do we need to set up a time later this week, whatever? And that not only re-engages them, but it gets them to a point where they're like, holy shit, this guy really knows this business. Not only really knows the business, knows where the money's coming from, what drove the money, knows my people better than me, and he's probably smart enough to help me figure out how to grow the business so I can take on more calls. How about that? Um, and that's what I mean when I say go above and beyond for your clients. I know you're probably like, everybody's probably like, what the fuck does this have to do with the sales script? A little bit, right? But the idea is that's an ongoing
No, it's
client
good. It's
management,
good.
right? It's an ongoing client management thing. Um, but notice that everything is driven off of how well you teach, not how well you perform, but how well you can teach this to their people. So a lot of the same principles and concepts I'm teaching you about the sales script and tonal patterns that I teach you now, a lot of them will apply, even though it's a much shorter script for a front desk, and some examples to go through on that. But that's later. This is now you're in the mode of qualifying questions. You're in the mode of actually qualifying them. I do want to state that it's not some bullshit you just say. This is
Hmm.
you are actually qualifying them because you don't want to take on somebody that only has one crew out there and can't take any phone calls today or tomorrow because they're booked out for 3 weeks straight. You don't want that kind of client because they're not really going to be a client. They're going to cherry pick your
Hmm.
leads, tell you they suck, and then dump you if you're lucky. Okay, or worst case, they'll cherry pick your leads, tell you they suck, lower the price on you to where you're not making anything off of them, or you're not getting paid what you deserve to be paid, and use and abuse you like that and run you into the ground eventually. Um, that's not fair either. So definitely got to qualify, right? Definitely got to qualify. And this is more of a not interrogation, but more of a friend to friend chat. Almost like your friend comes to you and tells you, "Hey man, I got a problem. This is what I'm dealing with," and you say, "Oh well, how long you been how long you been carrying that around?" You don't say it like an asshole. You try to be a friend. It's like, so tell me, right? How long you been carrying that around? So tell me, how big's your service area? What areas you cover, or maybe even you want to say what counties you cover, right? Even though
I
you
do.
know, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I found like a site where you put in their zip code
Yeah,
and you put in a mile radius. It gives you every zip code in that radius.
yeah. Are
Did
you
you
talking
ask the
about
zip
Zip
code?
Atlas?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's Zip Atlas, and then there's also oh shit, something Zip Tools. Gosh, it's been a minute since I
Oh,
looked at it.
free map tools.
Free Map Tools. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. You can actually draw as well. You don't have to just do a radius. You can draw it with like little and push it out with little boxes. It's really cool. You can get a
Hmm.
pretty damn accurate map that way. Um, okay, so your qualifying questions. Let's kind of jump back into that. Great. Just a couple quick questions
Hmm.
for you, and then lay it on without coming off like there's a big bright light in my face. And I feel
All
like if
right.
I give the wrong
So,
answer, I'm going to jail. You know what I mean?
all right. So here's where I would add in the share with me. So tell me a little bit about your service area. What areas do you cover? Like a slower, more relaxed kind of thing, right?
It's definitely a little more relaxed. It's not like super relaxed, my problem is solved,
Hmm.
right? Because that never goes away. However, it's very much I mean, it's kind of like, um, what if you what if you were bleeding out by the neck, but you didn't want a blood transfusion? So at first you're freaking out, you're trying to find a doctor, you get in front of a doctor finally. So now the freak out is less, but the first thing you're asking the doctor, because you're still conscious and awake and able to ask, is, Doc, are you gonna are you gonna use a blood transfusion? Right? And you can do that nicely without being an asshole to the doc. Some people probably wouldn't be nice. I'm just saying this is our opportunity to get more information instead of a defensive doctor. So it's
Hmm.
probably a good idea to be nicer than we were just moments ago, being not hysterical, but being at that urgency point of, oh my God, I've got to find somewhere for these phone calls to go right now, right?
Mhm.
Best I can do to relate that. Uh, each question you ask is almost like, and where did you go to school? And how long did you study there? Yes, you wouldn't be asking these things necessarily if you were bleeding out by the neck. At the same time, you would if that was major concerns of yours. Like maybe you don't want somebody who's just out of or still in their residency touching your neck.
Mhm.
Maybe you want um, a different
Professional.
type, yeah, well, not just professional, but like someone who specializes not only in repairing your neck, but is also fully qualified to reduce the scarring, not as a plastic surgeon, but very much close to that, like very close to that, um, to where you're not only fixed, but and if you're, let's say, if you're an actor or an actress, and that scar is going to show up, uh, possibly, then that would be of great concern. And if you're still bleeding out by the neck, I mean, what good is having your neck fixed if you end up looking like if it ends up looking like Frankenstein's neck? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
If you're an
Yep.
actor
Yep.
or an actress. So there are questions that can be asked like this that people are conscious and still have the urgency of needing that kind of surgery or needing some kind of life-saving procedure, as an example, that are going to ask the right kinds of questions. And there's usually people that ask the questions direct, there's people that ask the questions friendly, and then there's people that ask the questions as if they were expected an answer 10 minutes ago. And you got to understand the doctor deals with how many patients. So your potential client deals with how many customers a day and how many different, he's now stepping into your hospital room or whatever, where you're
Mhm.
awaiting to have this critical surgery, and everything's good. You're still living, you're still breathing, and you're not dying yet, right? But at the same time, you've got some questions that need to be answered, and it's all about how you approach it. Because I'll tell you right now, especially with doctors, you approach them a certain way, they'll get really pissed off and just leave because they
Mhm.
feel like they don't have to deal with it, even though they've sworn an oath to. Um, it's really difficult, the position that they're put in sometimes by people that just don't understand. Um, Now, I say that knowing that a lot of doctors have a God complex. And so the questions that I ask tend to be, I give them a warning shot, just like I do pretty much everybody else. I let them know because they usually hear my accent and they go, okay, redneck, right? And then
Mhm.
I'll fire off, like I said, a warning shot to where they know, okay, he's not, well, okay, he's a smart redneck, and he just gave me a warning shot. And when I see in their face that they've recognized that it's a warning shot, not a threat or anything, but just a warning shot letting them know this could get very, very ugly and reports could be filed, and I know how to file them and I know who to file them with. And if you'd like me to pull up the websites to show you and such organizations that would take, or boards, excuse me, that would take those complaints, you let me know if we're going to have to go that way, Doc, without saying it quite like that. And they
Mhm.
sharpen the fuck up real quick, real quick. I've had people that thought they were king fucking shit step into a hospital room. I wasn't the one on the bed, but I was the one representing the one on the bed in a few cases. And it don't take much. It does not take much. Now, I don't tend to go that direction immediately, is my point. I tend to start with the whole, um, hey, doc, so tell me, is she going to live? As a joke, right? And
Mhm.
of course, actually, I'm thinking of my mom specifically in one instance. She laughs, which is good. And he smiles. He doesn't like laugh har, 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 right? But he's like,
Mhm.
huh, it's been a while since I had somebody that would joke around. Okay, cool. So it's a serious business they're in. So I immediately add levity to the situation. Now it's not fucking stand up hour either, so I'm not just going to keep on cracking one liners. Um, but it tells me right away, Doc's cool or cool enough to at least smile at the fucking joke, right?
Mhm.
And mom's in a better mood because she always gets nervous when a doc comes in. She fucking hates hospitals, and I understand why.
Mhm.
She's had bad experiences, so we're sitting there, and so the questions come, and the doc starts explaining stuff to the patient, which is my mother, And then what I do is I casually walk over to the bed, closer to the bed, and sit down in a chair that's where my face is and her face is maybe a few feet apart, yes, but we're both looking at the doctor from the same angle and everything. That way, the doc knows and starts to direct his attention more towards me, even though she's right here, because she keeps looking towards me, knowing that I'm the one that needs the answers because I've got the power of
Mhm.
attorney, the durable power of attorney, the do not resuscitate order, and all the shit. Right? I've got it all, and so not that my mother is incompetent. My mother is very capable. However, she happens to be the one in the bed, and she knows that when that's the case, it's on me to talk to the doc and make sure she gets what she needs, right? So that we can get her the hell out of there. And we've been successful at doing that in a lot of cases. So um, she also knows that I can handle that. And the doc will start talking to me all of a sudden, just by default, just by me making that simple action. It's all about, again, presentation and and so when the doc starts trying to talk technical, that's when the warning shot's fired, and not with the board or anything like that, the complaints, but the warning shots are fired back with, we understand such and such as this. What I'm asking you though, you know how I get, right? What I'm asking you though, doc, is this and that, right? And so I'm just asking you to tell me a little bit about or share with me what your insights or experiences are on that. And while that's a little bit more serious than this is more relaxed. It still gets the point across to the doc. At the same time, he doesn't have to feel defensive because I gave him that. I gave him that, like, hey man, this is the path I said before I bonk you on the head or have to bonk you on the head. Are you going to go that way with me or not? Right? Like, I give them the room, right, to make the right decision. And in most cases, almost every case, they do. Every once in a while, though, you're gonna have some problems, and it's not just in a hospital, but this you shouldn't have that with that kind of stuff with if you're reading the questions as a um, more as a friend. You know, pretend for example a friend of yours was in the hospital and they were conscious when you got there, but they're in the bed, they're all fucked up, they got an IV going in them and stuff, and you're like, what's the first thing you say? What would be the
Are
first
they
thing
going
you
to be all
say?
right?
Are you
Are
gonna
they
be
going
all
to be
right?
okay?
That's the first thing
Yeah.
you say when you walk into a room.
I mean,
Not to the doctor, but to the patient, to the friend that's in the
oh,
bed.
to the
Yeah,
patient,
yeah,
I would
yeah.
say, like, are you okay? What's wrong? Do you need anything? Can I
That's
help
what you
you?
would say
Like,
to a friend?
what happened? I would say, what happened? I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay, for me, I'll tell you right now, the first thing I would say, and I've said this several times with having friends in the hospital, I'd say, "Hey man, what's up? Fuck you doing here?" You know what I mean? Like, kind of
Oh, you lighten the mood.
you
Okay.
chose to stroll in here and shit, you know. And then I
Hmm.
may give them, if they're conscious, of course, right? This is going on, this conversation. So I'm giving them a joke, like maybe, again, I like to add levity, not a ton of one-liners or anything, but crack a joke where it's like, "Yo, man, you know, you told me you were in a hospital. I didn't know you meant, you know, UMC. I thought you meant like a real hospital. You know, these fucking jokers here, you know, just as a, and then they're like, oh shit, am I, you know, in the right hospital? I'm like, I'm kidding, man. It's a good hospital. We got good doctors here. I'm just fucking with you. So what happened? Notice how I say, so what happened? And I say it genuinely, I caringly. But first, I gotta be like, yo, bro, hey, bud, what's up? And I've had friends, and I don't always do the bro. I'm just saying, it's a much more friendly way of speaking to someone, and then we get into. So this is where hey man, you're the one actually in the patient bed, right? And now I've got a couple quick questions for you, and so you're asking them the questions. Maybe one of your employees comes in and is like checking in on you, and so it's like, so tell me, how's the business doing? Everybody still working okay? You know, that's how you're gonna approach it, right? So tell me, how big is your service area? What counties you cover? What areas you cover? And they're gonna notice how I trail off like that, as opposed to tell me, do you need more visits right now? That's There's a difference in tonal pattern, right? One's
Hmm.
more
Hmm.
soft, maybe not kid gloves or snowflake, but definitely not. I'm bleeding out by the neck because we've already addressed that up to
Hmm.
that point. We're going to hit that again for sure, but now we're trying to make sure we got the right person, right? So this is where it's more of a heart to heart. and they're going to open up after the third question or so. They're really going to start opening up, and you don't have to keep asking questions. There is a limit here to people's patience. You're going to need to write. You're going to need to ask questions that are like no more than five, maybe six or seven at the absolute most. And by five, six, seven, I'm talking about usually two questions in one. So if you notice how big is service area, what areas do you cover is actually two questions, right?
Mhm.
Answering service, dedicated person to answer the phone is actually two questions because there's a dedicated person and then there's an answering service. What if they have both? What if they have one or the other? So you're asking two questions in one, right? And
Mhm.
when I say five questions, no more, I mean five like this, where there are multiple questions inside of a question. Um, Now, there's challenges with that. Like I said, the weekend thing, you can shorten that and get rid of one. So now you're down to three here, which would be, and I'm sure, Mr. Client or potential client, like everybody else, you work the weekend, so I'm not even going to bother asking you that. Uh, but how many calls do you think you could handle a day roundabout? That's another one I like to say. Again, that's more of a country ass thing to say, but I say it because I'm country ass sometimes, right? So I say
Mhm.
roundabout, roundabout. I say words like reckon. I don't always say those, by the way. I say them when I know I'm speaking to someone who's going to know what those mean, right? I don't say that
Mhm.
to a New Yorker because they're going to look at me like I'm a jerk off, right? It's probably what they would call me, a jag off, whatever they say, however they say it. I don't give a damn. The point is, I don't say that to those people. I don't
Yeah.
say it. I don't say it to people out in California for some reason. People are kind of snooty about shit like that out there. It's really weird. I wouldn't expect that, but that's the truth. And for everybody else, me being on live streams, I try my best to just be who I'm going to be. So I say words like roundabout and reckon. You can replace those with, let's see, what would be a good way to. It's not going to be proper English. Keep in mind, this is not Queen's English, right? And it's also not proper grammar in uh, American English either. And the script, the way it's written, if you notice, is not written in proper grammar form. It's or grammatical form. It's written in how you would actually speak it on the phone. Because believe it or not, the way we speak on the phone in almost every case is not grammatically correct or accurate versus what we would be typing out in a report, right? That's why we have transcription services because um, we speak so much faster and think so much faster than what we would actually write and how we would actually write something. So this is written as it would be spoken, and that's kind of the point. So words like roundabout could be replaced with whatever's appropriate, but I'm thinking
Like
just a
rough estimate.
ballpark, rough estimate, just a ballpark, those kinds of things. Absolutely. But roundabout for me is so short, right? Uh,
Mhm.
just a rough estimate, right? That's not a bad one to say. A rough idea, that's another good one. That's more of a southern thing, but um, yeah, for some reason I always gravitate to roundabout. Okay, so do you think you're going to have any challenges on those questions and the tonal patterns from what I just described on this section?
No, I get that. Just one question I added in
Okay,
is I tried to kind of make it two in one. Do
I'm
you
listening.
service do you service mold removal, fire damage, and other jobs?
Okay, um, I wouldn't ask that question.
Wouldn't ask it. Okay.
Yeah, in most cases they do, for one thing,
Hmm.
and second, and you would know that on the market research. We'll get to that in a second. Uh, the other thing is this: if you ask that, you're burning a question that could be used for something else. Okay, and we'll get to that
Okay.
in a second as well. Instead of asking that, what I would do is imply that well, first off, focus on just water damage. Mold is worth less. Fire is worth a decent amount, but it's still not the same as water damage, right? That's where most of them make their living, right? Mold helps pay the bills, yes, but they're not specifically after mold calls and mold calls only. That's a good upsell for existing clients. It's also a good sell for clients once they're sold on the idea of the water damage calls, okay? Because
Hmm.
sometimes they'll buy both up front. Um, but you definitely want to target water damage because they know that's where the money is, and you know that's where the money is, and you have to communicate that to them. So, like I said, instead of burning a question, um, it should be something like you asked how big is your service area? Do you have dedicated? I know you probably work on weekends like all the other guys I've spoken to. Uh, how many calls do you think you could handle a day? And then maybe on the ass end of that one, how many calls could you handle a day? How many crews you got on the road right now?
Oh, I see. I
How many
see.
active crews you got? You see what I'm saying? Like that could
Hmm.
actually be added to that one. So you're still at three questions. Well, four questions. No, three, excuse me. You're still at three questions. And how many things have you asked? Service area and what areas, which are kind of the same thing.
Hmm.
You've asked answering service or dedicated person. So let's call that three questions so far. You've already covered whether they work weekends or not, and they'll correct you. So technically, you've already gone through 4 points. How many calls could you handle a day is number five, and the second part of that one is how many crews do you have that are active? Excuse me, active right now, and that's six or yeah, six, six. Um, and then seven could be your number four question, right? I mean, you could probably, if you worked at it, you could probably squeeze eight, nine, 10 questions out of five, and it not feel like you're fucking running them through the ringer. You can do this within 5 to 6 minutes of the call. You could be at the pitch,
Hmm.
right? Call it 7 minutes. You could be at the pitch, and well, 7 to 10. Call it 10, but 10 minutes of pitching and looping back will pull in a 20-minute, 25-minute conversion for the people that are ready to go, ready to rock and roll. So um, that should give you a good idea on the questions I'm talking about, um, how to structure them, how to fold in multiple stuff. I gave you examples, and not just you, Rob, but Robert, but everybody, examples of these kinds of questions and how to structure them. At the same time, there's only so much I can give you in writing that will make sense beyond us actually covering it like this. That's why I like these kinds of calls where I'm able to explain to people, okay, you use the additional phrases. You also ask multiple questions within a question, and you kind of need to pre-plan them. And all that needs to be based on the market research, which I told you that would come up again. And how well you do your market research is going to determine how good your questions are qualifying wise. Because when you ask things like service area and how many crews do you have, crews is very specific. Crews are a word that they use, right? A crew, that's a word that they use. That vertical. Full service, that's how they describe it, right? Most people call it a restoration company or a water damage or a flood damage company. It's actually a full service restoration company. Um, Notice that you're excluding mold and fire, but not because you don't know about it. So you could bring that up but not ask it. So it's kind of like, and I, a lot of guys I talk to, they work on, they also service mold and fire. Um, and it's not that I can't drive. It's not that I don't have phone calls rather for that, Mr. Potential Client. I just happen to know that your biggest money makers are going to be uh, in water damage, right? People that have flood damage and whatnot, and that's where I've got calls coming in, and that's where you're going to make thousands of dollars on those jobs that come through, on those calls that come through. So that's why I say we start there, even though we're starting small. That's where we start because it's going to make you the most money, right? When you say things like that without even asking, you're an expert. You're the specialist. You're the authority in terms of their business more than they realize because a lot of these guys think they've got their hands on a big secret, which is they're in an industry where, and if you think about it, it kind of is. I mean, they a house gets flooded. Think about this for a second. A house gets flooded. Uh, who pays for it? Fixing it.
Insurance company.
Insurance company, baby. Because and in most if not all, I could be wrong on this, but I think most if not all states, if you buy a house in the U.S., it has to have insurance with it, home insurance. Like
Mhm.
as part, if you take a mortgage out, rather, the bank requires you to maintain home insurance, and it's usually built into the fucking payments of the mortgage, if I'm not mistaken, right? I could be wrong on that, uh, but that's to my understanding. You can look that up and get solid on that, but I know home insurance is required to be maintained while having a mortgage out on a house, which means it covers shit like that, right? Absolutely, except for negligence, of course, which nobody's going to cover that. Um, but flood damage, for example, you can't. It's an act of God, force majeure, whatever. You can't really. Uh, that wasn't your fault, right? You leaving the sink on and it being clogged up, that's your fault, right? So. Um, when I look at that, I go, okay, insurance company's paying out. Now, the insurance company is paying out, and that means whoever gets the job as the full service restoration company, do you have to have a degree to be a full service restoration company, or own one,
No,
or run
like
one?
college degree?
No,
No,
no college degree. What
no.
about high school diploma?
I think so.
You need a high school diploma to set up a business?
Well, no,
No.
no, you
What do you
don't.
need to set up a business in the U.S.?
Over 18 LLC. That's it.
Over 18, and you can even be a former felon and own a business.
Mhm.
I mean, shit, man. So yeah, there's not. I mean, if you think about it, it's age. That is and filing the right fees, and that's it. That's the only kind of cheapens the whole I own a business thing. I know, but it's true. You got to look at it that way. And I'm not saying that these guys are felons at all. What I'm saying is it does not take a degree in fucking rocket science to start up this kind of a business. And ultimately, what do they do? What do they do? Do they perform rocket science or any kind of
No,
alchemy?
it's like
No.
they put in equipment, they leave it there, they come back. It's basically they just buy equipment and they use the
Yep.
equipment.
Now, where do they learn that? Do they have to go to a school for a few years or a trade school to learn that?
They have like a certification
They
class. I
have
don't think it's more than
certification
like
classes. They do.
2 weeks or a
Exactly,
week or
2
something.
weeks. And if I didn't have that or I have access to that, where could I learn how to do what they do?
YouTube,
Well,
like you could
yeah, I
just
guess so.
watch.
How about working shadowing, or working on the crew of a business owner guy? Like he's already got
Oh,
people
I
that
see.
know the business or that have done it, right? Because they've done it
Hmm.
themselves. Like that'll teach me how to, yeah, not only use the drying equipment, but how to position the drying equipment, how long to let it run to actually dry out the house, all those kinds of things, right? Then after
Hmm.
the house is dry, what's the next step for full service restoration companies? Water's out, house is dry. Now what?
Assess the damage. I would say if you have to take out drywall or molding or carpet or whatever.
Well, assess and fix. And in the
Yeah.
same, it's really the same step if you think about it. They're in there to replace, right? They're in there
Hmm.
to not improve but to replace. And so that's when they rip out all the damaged drywall. That's correct. The carpeting, the flooring, anything like that, right? And
Hmm.
replace it. Now, what does that require skill set wise?
I mean, demolition, not much. Installation, a little bit, but to
Well,
take it out.
basically be a good remodeler. Wouldn't you agree with
Hmm.
that? Like, because you're dealing with
Yeah.
studs, you're dealing with drywall, you're dealing with paint, you're dealing with carpet, you're dealing with those are remodeling almost handyman stuff. Not quite. There's some electrical, I'm sure, in there as well, but very little. And so you're really basically talking about remodeling. The same kind of guys, by the way, who would be able to add a room on to your house, right? Or add a deck to your house, that kind of a thing. Um, Pretty much, right? I'm not saying the exact same kind of guys. I'm saying the same kind of skill sets from similar people, right? Similar professions. In fact, at that point, there are people that only do the drying, and then remodelers come in afterward that are a completely separate crew because that's what they focus on is just replacing all that kind of stuff, right? Remodeling, if you will,
Hmm.
or repairing in this case. But it's the same thing, more or less. So my point is, do they need any kind of like crazy elaborate degrees or anything to do this business? No, they do not, right?
No. Nope.
They do not.
Yep.
And I'm not sure where I was headed with that. I had a really good point on it, but I guess my point is this: like they,
You said it
when
was like they have a good secret.
oh, the good secret is this: how much money do remodelers make? God, thank you for that. How much money do remodelers make?
Remodelers make?
Yeah. Hey, I
It's
want
got
to
to be
add
a
a room
lot.
onto. I want to add a room onto my house.
It's got to be a lot. I'm not. I can't give you numbers,
In
but
most cases, they're going to give you an estimate, but in most cases, you're going to pay for the materials, but you're also going to
hmm
pay for their time, their labor, right? And
hmm
their labor is because nobody, I say nobody, not everybody and their brother does remodeling, right? A lot of construction
hmm
workers in home construction are working on new home construction, not remodeling, right? So there's less of those kinds of companies. There are plenty of them, but still less than new construction, right?
hmm
So they're going to give you a rate based on what their time is worth and also the quality of job that they bring based on their experience. So, for example, um, someone who's been in the full service restoration game for 20 years is going to have a hell of a lot more experience crew wise than someone who's been in it only 5 years, even. Not that the one doing 5 years can't do a good job, they can. But the one that's 20 years, there's not a job on the face of the God's green earth that they can't handle and handle with an expert level, if that makes sense.
hmm
And they're the ones that are called in on the challenging jobs or the massive jobs like government buildings that get flooded or whatever, that kind of thing, right? They've seen it all. They've been around 20 fucking years. They've seen it all, um, or most of it. You know what I'm saying? The idea is
hmm
they get to charge for that experience. And also, there's a markup because it's going to an insurance company. I know it's fucked up, but that's doctors do it to health insurance companies. Insurance companies always have to pay through the nose, right? Because doctors
hmm
bill if they know there's insurance that's covering it, they're going to bill a certain way compared um, to if you didn't have any insurance, they're going to bill a completely different way because they know there's no insurance picking up the bill. Um, Same could be said of
Yeah, but
home
they're making
insurance
so
and
much money.
correct. They're making a ton of money. They're making a ton, and there's nothing against that or that I have against that or that's wrong about that necessarily. Just understand they're getting paid a premium to
hmm
do what they do because there's not that many people that do what they do, right? And
hmm
when there's demand for it, there's demand for it. So and there's also like I said, a special set of skills. Not to sound like Liam Neeson from Taken or anything, but the idea is they've got a special set of skills that not many people have
Yeah.
that they can use to clean up houses and also put them back in the original state or close to the original state that they were in prior to a flood or prior to damage. So they do all that at a premium, and they don't have to have degrees. They don't have to have crazy amounts of training or continued education even. They can do all of this with very little, I mean, comparatively speaking, like if you were to take the money, I'll give you an example. If you were to take the money it would take to own a McDonald's, right? And the time
hmm
frame it would take to own a McDonald's before you can step in your own store, that kind of thing. Um, you'd have a couple of solid years of running multiple locations in full service restoration with the same money for one location in McDonald's and the same time frame for one location in McDonald's. That should give you some perspective. Like
hmm
they they only maybe need um, 40, 50 for equipment. And then, of course, they're going to need some way to haul it. So call it another 50 for a vehicle, right? If they want to go that way with it. So what, you're out 100 grand. I mean, a McDonald's franchise last time I heard was, and this was several years ago, it's probably more than this now, it was like 1.3, 1.4 million to start. So
hmm
you're talking 10 fucking crews. That's like two, three locations uh, that could run three or four crews in hotbed areas like Beaumont, Texas, that keeps getting flooded. Like
hmm
Jesus, you think they'd move somewhere that's not going to get flooded like that? But hey, man, people are attached to their homes. They live there all their life, whatever. Can't judge them, right? But I can send some crews down there permanently in a location. My point is, um, that should give you an idea of like how easy it will be for them to grow their crew size if you're able to deliver the call volume, especially during storm season. It's bonus season for you. Um, I'll tell you right now, every client that you pick up, and this is crazy, I know, but I know we're getting off the sales script, but we'll come back to it. You need to know this kind of stuff, seriously, because you're in a position where I had someone last year who was in a very, very similar position in this vertical that did very well on client acquisition to start, went
Mhm.
for quite a while without any clients, and then tried to jumpstart everything back up and totally screwed themselves for the start of the season because they weren't in a good enough place. So as the and by the way, this past year was one of the worst fucking years we've ever had uh, in recent memory, at least for hurricane season and flooding. Not just hurricanes, but flooding in general. And I'm not saying next year's going to be worse, but we're always going to have hurricane season. We're always going to have flood season, and um, some years are going to be better than others. Some for our business, and some are going to be good years or light years for hurricanes and all that. Um, but the idea is, if you're not in place of the, if you're not in place before the wave hits, right, the wave's going to hit and you're going to miss it, and you can still get a little wet, but you ain't going to get splashed by the wave. You're not going to get crushed by the wave, and the objective here would be to be crushed by the wave. Uh,
Mhm.
So when I look at where you're at, what you're doing, you need to pull in at least a couple dozen clients to start, and then through the beginning of the season, you should double that, right? You should be, and it's actually going to take you about 4 or 5 months of consistent work to get to 50, 60 clients and maintain those clients with the understanding that you have to manage the expectations of those clients that when the calls come in, they're going to get them, right?
Mhm.
Those calls may not come in the middle of December. They may get one, they may get two, they may get none,
Mhm.
right? Same thing for January, February, March. They may get some, depending on where they're located, right? April, they're going
Yep.
to start getting calls, right? And so the season kind of opens back up. Does that mean that they don't get calls in December? No, it just means the volume's not there. And if the volume's not there, I mean, you're not God. You can't make it rain. You can't make it flood. You can't make hurricanes happen in December. It's just not in your power, right? Um, so the calls come in when they come in, but when they come in, they're getting them exclusive. They're getting them from you at a steal, right? And they're high
Mhm.
quality. So and as long as they know that and see that in their results, then they'll stick with you. And not only stick with you, but stick with you long enough to when the season starts, they're going to make some real money, and um, you'll have a list. You should have a list of all your clients at that point and what areas they're willing to travel to service. So, for example, and I talk about this all the time with guys in this vertical, but so me sharing this publicly is a little, how do I say this? I love giving away information. Don't get me wrong, but this is kind of a rite of passage. So I'm sharing it with you because I want you to have something to look forward to. I'm doing things a little bit differently because maybe if you see this, you won't go out of your way to not go this way. Um, but the idea is this storm season for each client you have should be worth at least on a good storm season 20, 30 grand, like as a bonus check. Think of it as a bonus check um, on top of what you make with them average throughout the year, right? Because
Mhm.
it's storm season.
Yep.
Now, if it's a real good storm, on average, you're going to see that number go from 50 to 100 grand. 50 to 100 grand
Wow.
per client. Yeah. And here's why. I mean, if you look at if you look at some of the hurricanes that hit this year, I would encourage you to go back and look. You'll see some of the areas they hit and then hit again. You know, a couple of cases, a hurricane hit and then another one hit like a month or two later in the exact same fucking spot, practically. Crazy, but true. And so you look at that and you go, okay, there's a ton of places down there that need repair, right? And not
Mhm.
all of the companies, not all the full service restoration companies are located in Texas and in the Gulf, right? So Texas, Mississippi, Louisiana, hell, even Mobile and Florida, a lot in Florida, but they're not all down there, right? And if you
Mhm.
notice, not all the power trucks that come in to repair power lines whenever the hurricanes hit or bad weather hits are from the same states that I just mentioned either. A lot
Oh,
of
I
them come.
see.
See what I'm saying? Everybody gears up basically. It's like, oh fuck, here comes another hurricane. Let's gear up, and so the insurance companies get ready to send agents in. Uh, the power companies gear up and send over power trucks and repair trucks and linemen down there to repair down power lines. Tree service guys gear the fuck up with a bunch of chainsaws and crews that normally don't work the rest of the year, but during storm season they're kind of on call or standby, if you will. That way, because
Mm,
tree service makes a fucking killing, right? Roof repair,
mhm.
uh, God Almighty. Dumpster rentals, so dumpster roll-offs, uh, everybody, everybody in so many different industries. It's a multi-billion dollar uh, conglomeration of industries that kind of in some ways team together to provide, if you think about it, relief or um, correction to whatever the storm did or hurricane did. And full service restoration is definitely one of those. I
Mhm.
remember back in what was that, 2006? Uh, when did Katrina hit? Was that
Katrina?
2006?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
yeah,
Yep.
it was 2006. Man, that was so damn bad. But by the fall, right? By the fall, um, so many people I knew that were kind of in the uh, contracting slash remodeling slash new construction business relocated, drove over to Louisiana to build up not just New Orleans, but the rest of the state, because the state got hit pretty damn hard by Katrina, and even Mississippi actually. But they're from Alabama, right? Roll Tide,
Hmm.
but they drive to other states to physically relocate. And when I say relocate, like they got a fucking landline. They didn't sign a lease or nothing, but you know what I'm saying? There was so much new construction that was going to happen over the next couple of years that it's kind of like, well, I guess I'm living in Louisiana right now. You know, like there was that much business and that much opportunity, seriously, that several people I knew drove over there and were working, 16, 18-hour days nonstop to rebuild a lot of stuff and to repair a lot of stuff. And so there's and that was with one hurricane is kind of my point. This year we got hit. I know it wasn't exactly Katrina level, but I think we had at least two category threes hit, which is just that's not nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
and several other hurricanes come through, and even a tropical storm. I think we had some crazy 2020 predictable weather. As if things weren't crazy enough in 2020, we had to have absolute
Uh,
shit storms.
Listen to this. The 2020 Atlantic hurricane season was the most active
Yep.
and the seventh costliest Atlantic hurricane season on record. And that's just Atlantic. That's not
And it's
the
definitely
Gulf.
within recent memory. I guarantee it.
Hmm.
I guarantee it. It's definitely within probably the last 10, 15 years would be recent memory or greater. I bet within the last 10 years there's not been as uh, damaging, right, in terms of property damage, just complete
Hmm.
flooding and everything. And it's because there were so many storms, not because they were the biggest and baddest, right? Katrina, it resulted in a lot of loss of life, actually, which sucks. But
Hmm.
uh, these hurricanes, I'm not saying there wasn't loss of life, but it seemed to be noticeably less
Hmm.
season wise. But man, did the storms just keep fucking coming, you know? It's like Tom Cruise said in A Few Good Men, and the hits just keep on coming. They just kept on coming, man. I mean, all the way to like November, I think I saw a fucking storm. I was like, really, guys? Like, 2020 is not bad enough. You guys got to throw another storm at us? Like, what the fuck, man? Let it go. Anyway, here's my point. All those people that need help and they send in the crews, and I guarantee you're going to have clients that have not only experience in sending down crews to different states, but they have the names and numbers of hotels that they're going to stay at for to lay their head down at night, and they're going to work 16, 18-hour days, and they're going to cash in on every call that they can get in those areas. Now you call them up and you already know, like I said, you have a sheet listed, maybe a spreadsheet where you see a storm is rolling up and everybody's talking about it's going to hit Texas. right? It's rolling up through the Gulf, but it's going to hit Texas. It's not even close to Florida. You can tell by the path, okay, everybody's gearing up for Texas. Everybody's going to run over to Texas and handle shit. Okay. Well,
Mhm.
that's when you call up your clients in all the surrounding states, including Texas as well. So you call up Texas, hey, you guys batten down the hatches. You call up Louisiana, hey, you guys prepared because it could swing right, right? Mississippi, same conversation. Alabama, Tennessee, any of those places where they're within several hours of driving, hell, even 12 hours of driving, if there's enough business there, is my point. And usually the bigger the storm, the more damage is going to be caused. So you're looking at tons of tons of business for whoever decides to drive in there, right, or to roll in there and relocate temporarily. And every job they do, keep in mind, they're going to have a lot of guys are going to have at least a couple of crews on what I would consider standby, where they're not active crews, but if an opportunity comes up like that, they'll jump on it and they'll go. They're willing to relocate down there for 6 months or 3 months or whatever for the summer and work 18-hour days and cash in because they're getting paid big money to do that too. So they'll take opportunities like that during the season. Those standby guys, and um, it's also a great way for a company to take those standby crews, at least one or two of them every year, and exponentially thereafter make them permanent, right?
Mhm.
Make them permanent in those areas and not just in those areas, but I mean, then there's no relocation, there's no crazy things. Somebody can actually build up multiple locations just from the calls that you're able to drive. And they're going
I
to pull
see. I
in,
see.
yeah, think of it this way, with 3 months of that, you're going to pull in for them in a high target rich environment like that, you're going to pull in at least a few calls a day, which means there's more business than one crew could handle. If they sent down 4 crews, you could keep them busy for 3 months straight, and no problem with that. And 3 months straight for them at that kind of work rate where they're maxed out on time and everything, like they could, one crew actually can set up dryers in one location and then go to the next location and set up dryers and have 2 sets of dryer equipment, believe it or not, for
Mhm.
each crew. So 4 crews could actually represent at any given time 8 jobs going on, right? Roughly, unless
Mhm.
it's a bigger job and they need all the dryers for that bigger job. But that's, I mean, when you look at that, it's like, man, and each job is worth at least, especially in a heavily damaged area like that, it's going to be at least several $1,000s per, right, per job. And if it's a widely affected area, that's when calls for government buildings come in, office buildings, shit like that, and those are $100,000, $200,000 calls for them. Like that's how much they're going to make. And I mean, fuck, man, all they need is just one of those from you, plus everything I just mentioned. 8 jobs. I mean, they could do. They could complete probably 5 to 10 jobs per week for 13 weeks. They're making 500,000 up from that 3 4 months. You see what I'm saying? Like in most of those guys, they're probably going to make way more than that. In a lot of cases, it's 7 figures, but I'm going conservative here. So $500,000, and they're just paying you. Well, they pay you a premium for those calls too because you're able to drive them. So call it $300 a call. They'll gladly take it because you can give them more than they can handle. You know, and if you've got multiple crews that are willing to travel to the state of Texas in this example, then they're all gonna love any kind of business you can throw their way like that. And any kind of overflow that you have, you're going to be able to send it to a crew, and not just one crew, but or one client. But if you've got 10 that travel to the area, you're going to have 10 times how many ever crews, right? So every storm you have is potentially worth to you 50 to 100 grand without breaking a sweat. And you got 10 of those in a year or some crazy shit like we had this year. We had more than 10, but 10 is pretty decent for a year. That's going to be 500,000 to 1 million for you as a bonus check,
Mhm.
you know, on top of the day to day, right? Back home from where they originally are from. So yeah, there's and that's also with a couple dozen clients. Seriously, um, not that many. I would recommend that 50 is a real sweet spot for that vertical. Um,
Mhm.
After you get to that point and up, you're going to see a lot of opportunities like that open up, and they'll also be willing to grow with you more, which is good. But that's what I would look for, and something to look forward to with the storm season. It's actually the worse it is, the better it is for you and for your clients. Um, and not that we want it to be worse. I'm just saying storms are going to happen, so you might as well help the
Prepared.
people out that need help in their house, and help the clients out that need the work to help the people with their house problems. And take your piece for doing all that, right? Um,
Mhm.
so anyway, back to the script. We're at, and I know you're like, oh shit, we spent all that time. No, check this out. So
It's good because
we
it's going to help me sell.
well, if you know all that stuff, imagine what kind of conversations you're going to have now, right? And everything is very short in this script, right? In terms of now we're at the pitch. Like you ask your questions, and if they're a pitch, you say, okay, great. Based on what we covered so far, I think you'd be able to take very good care of these live phone calls for people that need full service restoration. So let's do this. Let's start small, and let's do two calls at 250 bucks each. And that'll give us a chance to try each other out, see if we can do business together over the next 20, 30 years together. What do you say? Now, I read that a little bit fast, but not super fast. Again, there's a little bit of urgency there, but I also know that it doesn't matter as much because they're going to give me the knee-jerk reaction or answer, which is no, right? They're going to say no, and they may even say
Mhm.
it like that. Um, so again, okay, great. Based on what we've covered so far, and notice you've got to sound genuine when you say it. So maybe you don't say okay, great, but you say great, or okay, great just tends to be a good indicator to them that okay, things are great, right? Based on the
Mhm.
qualifying questions, it sounds good. They sound good to you. So okay, great. Based on what we've covered so far, I think you'd be able to take very good care of these live phone calls for people that need full service restoration. So let's do this. And there's a reason why that's in all bold because this is what we call certainty, right? So I went
Mhm.
from, if you noticed at the beginning, urgent, and then qualifying, but doing it as a friend, right? To okay, I know they're a fit. Now it's I'm very happy, not super happy or overexcited, but I'm happy because I found somebody that can take very good care of these calls. Kind of like, hey, listen, take my puppy. I know you're gonna be able to take good care of her, right? I'm not super happy about that, but obviously I'm happy that she's gonna be taken care of. So I'm not overexcited. Okay. Now, when it gets to so let's do this, it's very certain. This is what I call the certainty tonal pattern, and it's not just called that by me; it's by many other people. So let's do this, and that's you telling them what you're going to do together, right? And you
Mhm.
always say, "Let's start small and do," and I always drag the "do" out like I'm thinking, as if I haven't come up. Because if I were to say this, so let's do this. Let's start small and do two calls at 250 bucks each. That makes it sound scripted or like
Mhm.
that I knew I was thinking that. Whereas if I say, so let's do this, let's start small and let's do two calls at 250 bucks each. And I go right into the rest. But do you see how it sounded much more like I was thinking about what to do?
That way, you're it's like the qualifying questions, like the answers had an impact on where you're going forward into the offer
Correct.
instead of just I just throw this at everybody.
Yes. And you also happen to know that two calls at 250 bucks each in this vertical is a very fair offer, actually more than fair in their favor, to be honest,
Mhm.
when you consider everything with the dispute and all that kind of stuff. And then you say, so let's do this. So let's start small and do two calls, 250 bucks each. This will give us a chance to try each other out, see if we can do business together over the next 20, 30 years together. Or excuse me, see if we can do business over the next 20, 30 years together. What do you say? And the what do you say goes kind of is what Jordan Belfort would call the reasonable man. So that's where what do you say? Right. So it kind of goes down a little bit. So again, it goes, okay, great. Based on what we covered so far, I think you'd be able to take very good care of these live phone calls for people that need full service restoration. So let's do this. Let's start small and do two calls at 250 bucks each. And this will give us a chance to try each other out, see if we can do business over the next 20, 30 years together. What do you say? See the different tonal patterns? Takes
Yep.
some time, takes a little bit of practice to nail it down, but not much. Not much. And it doesn't matter as much on the first time. So you're going to get better and better with that, right? Because the pitch is basically repeated over and over again at the end when you have to loop back. Because I guarantee you, 99 times out of 100, you're going to have people say no to that first one. They're going to be like, nope. Or they're going to say, maybe not no, they're going to say something else like, well, wait a minute, right? You mean I got to pay you for the calls or something like that, right? And so that's when we get into the objections here. Um, and I always, this is a general objection, the first one. So this is a good one for if somebody's saying something that they, if somebody asks a question or has a concern that's directly addressed in the 5 reasons why somebody should do business with us, right? And I say the 5 reasons because that's what I teach, right? So live exclusive phone calls, that's 2. Um, the calls uh, excuse me, the back office, right, that they can log into and file disputes. So the dispute system is number 4, and this is all we do, right? Those are the 5 reasons. So if somebody says, well, wait a minute, are you selling these calls to everybody? Then I'd say, I hear what you're saying. Let me say this. Kind of doesn't fit, but it does because you need to let them know this is a great Belfort line, by the way. I hear what you're saying, and let me say this. Not but let me say this, but negates everything they just said as important. When you say, I hear what you're saying, and let me say this, and let me say this. So you'll notice a lot of times I don't like the word but, not because but's a bad word, but because, notice I just used that. Um, be, the word but tends to
Confrontational kind
negate.
of.
Yeah, well, it tends to negate. It's actually something I learned from How to Win Friends, Influence People. So a Dale Carnegie thing. It's think of it this way. If I were to say, "Man, you're awesome at this script, Robert, but
Mhm.
it could be better." How do you feel?
It's like a slight jab, but it's not like a jab. It's like slight.
Right. Well, it also depends on the tonal patterns I deliver it with. I would guess, and not guess, but educated guess. However,
Hmm.
no matter how nice I say it, it's still going to be like a
Yeah.
fuck, man. It's not what it needs to be based on somebody's critique. Versus me saying, Robert, uh, I know you're really good at the script, and I know you're going to be even better when we get done with this call today. Now, how do you feel?
Like you're on my side, like you're
Fuck
in my
yeah.
corner.
And I am. And so
Yeah.
that's why I like the word and versus the word but. And again, that's little life lessons, but I picked that up from How to Win Friends, Influence People. It's I'm not trying to influence you by saying the word and all the time or anything, so don't read too much into that. Just understand it's built into my language to not use the word but as much, especially when critiquing or describing how someone can improve their performance. I challenge myself anyway and try to self correct anytime I hear myself say the word but, and I use the word and. I even do that in support tickets. So it's kind of like someone says this is what they're thinking, I'll say, you should probably be thinking this. And I know you're going to see the results from that because of this, and that. The word but never comes up. Whereas I could be like, again, um, I see what you're doing there, but this and that. And that. It's very not conflicting. It's very confrontational or more confrontational than it needs to be because I'm trying to show people that I am, in fact, on their side. And I spend more time doing that than I do um, teaching what I teach, which is cool because at least at the end of the day, everybody knows I'm on their side at some point while they're going through this, and that they have a friend and that they have somebody that has been there, done that, and can help them with that stuff. But again, if you look at the objections, 5 reasons why somebody should do business with me, I hear what you're saying, and let me say this. And that's also if they come up with another excuse that's not one that's listed for some reason. And you'll notice after you go through the 5 reasons of why somebody should do business. So I hear what you're saying. Let me say this. Our live phone calls are exclusive to you. It means we're not going to resell these to anyone else. These calls are coming from people who desperately need full service restoration for their house. Like I said, flood damage and things like that. These are big money jobs, right? We have a back office that you can log into. You can listen to the call recordings. You can also review and dispute the quality of a call, which This is all we do. We're all about full service restoration live phone calls, and notice it says industry to industry companies. So instead of saying that, that's a mouthful. You might modify that to say we're all about driving live phone calls to full service restoration companies like yours that can take care of the customer and do so well. We're looking for the absolute best full service restoration company in your area that's going to be able to work with us for the next 20 to 30 years. So let's do this. And I loop right back into this. So let's do this in the tonal pattern. So let's do this. Let's start with 2 calls and go from there. And I'll tell you, if these calls do even half as well as our other full service restoration companies are doing, you're going to be very, very impressed. Sound fair enough? And for those of you that study Belfort, you'll know that's exactly, not exactly, but the tonal patterns are exactly out of straight line, 100%, because they fucking work and they're gold, tonal patterns wise, right? But let's do this. Let's start with 2 calls. That's a little more certain because, again, you've already established that you're not having to think about that as much, right? And I put 20 in there just as a number because I guess I didn't put a placeholder, whatever. The point is, put in whatever you need to put in there, but that's not changing the script, right? That's modifying it to your vertical. So for your particular vertical, 2 calls is going to work. Take out the 0 and you're golden. And then here, it does read a little bit differently. So for example, HVAC, you may reword it to where we're all about driving live phone calls to HVAC companies, right? There's going to be somewhere this makes sense, somewhere it doesn't. Adjust accordingly, leave the rest of the script intact, right? Price objection, it's too expensive. Sometimes you'll hear that. Man, that's high. Compared to what? Notice I'm not like super pushing them back, but that's kind of like a get that bullshit out of here. Compared to what? You don't say, oh, really, compared to what? Notice. You don't say it with that tonal pattern either. You just say it almost like you're curious, like, oh, compared to what? And you don't say the word oh either, because again, it could be misconstrued as you're being a smartass, especially if you say it all the time. So, delivering the script, you're going to want to say it exactly as it's written that way. Compared to what? And they're going to say, well, everybody else. And you'd be like, exactly. We're not like everybody else. Remember, our live phone calls, they're exclusive to you. We don't resell phone calls like everybody else and other services. Our calls come from people, and you go right into the 5 reasons. Remember, they probably didn't get all the 5 reasons the first fucking time you read them. So now you're going through it the second time, and then they're going to hear something and be like, wait a minute, you saying I can dispute the quality of a call as it comes in? How does that work? Glad you asked, right? Now I know I know the way forward now, right? Like you just asked about this point, and I'm going to be able to tell you all about the back office. Hell, if you're in front of your computer, I can show it to you. Show it to them, and they're going to be like, damn, that's slick. And like, that's what we do. This is all we do. All day long, 7 days a week, right? And then you got to ask for the money again. Now, most people don't ask for the money enough, and most people don't have enough urgency. Now, the urgency and reassurance, if you notice the reassurance on the first objection, how we handled that, whereas if you're doing, if these calls do even half as well, right, that's a reassurance. There's confidence delivered there for sure in the offer. You're going to be very, very impressed, sound fair enough, reasonable man, right? That's what that is. So confidence, certainty, confidence, and then into into reassurance, and then sorry, trying to mouse over this, and then reasonable man. There's like several tonal patterns in that last couple closed sentences. Isn't that crazy? But man, they work. They work. So price objection compared to what? Doesn't matter what they answer. Exactly. We're not like them. In other words, you're differentiating, right? And when you start with basic information, this is where you actually just send them to the website. Great. All we got to do is start with some basic info. Head to www.paymenow.com, whatever your agency website is, right? And they go there, click on the button, fill out their information, select the lead from the drop-down if there are multiple options, and check out. And then they hit the thank you page. Then you walk them through and say welcome, which I'll talk to you about that in a second because that's actually not covered on the script once you get a client. Price objection, I get my leads from Home Advisor or some other guy, or I have a guy, and This is the answer right here, right? Well, unlike Home Advisor, our live phone calls, 5 reasons. So let's do this and let's start. Now, if you need to get specific with them, then you're going to need to know about those kinds of services. Most people, by the way, are not fans of Home Advisor. Partner wife
Dude,
Dob, go ahead.
I had a guy who said he kept asking me, "Are you affiliated with anyone? Do you work with
Right,
anyone?"
right.
And I was like, "No, why do you ask?" He's like, "Do you work with Home Advisor?" I was like, "No, definitely not. Like, never did. Nope." He's like, "Dude, I hate those guys, blah, blah, blah." And then I went through the whole thing about how they sell the names and phone numbers instead
Yeah.
of calls. And yeah, that I got him to the buy link in his truck.
This
And
is,
I think he freaked out.
well, Home Advisor is one of those things where it's not enough to say you're not them. You have to explain why you're not like them and the fact that their model, at least to you, in your opinion, is flawed.
Mm-hmm.
Because to what I mean, if you're selling what I teach you to sell, which is live exclusive calls right out of the gate,
Mm-hmm.
you're different than them. And if they're like, hey, you're not affiliated with Home Advisor? Absolutely not. They resell their calls and resell their leads over and over again. When you get a phone call from service, what was it? Restoration Service Calls. When you get a call from me, because I'm the owner here, when you get a call from me, Mr. Potential Client, it's only coming to you, right? You get a recording of it in the back office, and if it's not qualified, you click one button, and it's you're getting credit for it. If it's qualified, you go close it, right? Get the business, right? I mean, it's very straightforward. But notice how the difference of no, we're not them, no, we're not them, no, we're not them versus no, we're not them, and there's the word and here's why. Here's how we handle things. And notice I also walked them through some of the 5 reasons. I could round that out, that explanation out very easily with the dispute process. Again, Mr. Potential Client, these are live exclusive phone calls, unlike Home Advisor. They don't do that kind of stuff. They come directly to you. You've got the back office where you can review and dispute the calls, listen to the call recordings. If something's not qualified or what we would consider a good call, somebody looking for full service restoration company, you're not paying for it, right? You're not paying for it, and it's built into our processes to where you don't have to fight me over the phone every time, right? uh, like you would again somewhere in Home Advisor. Again, man. Well, I say man. Again, Mr. Client, potential client. This is all we do, right? So let's do this. You go right into it. You don't pause. You don't put as much pause like I just did. But my point is, so let's do this. You go right into it. After this is all we do. You just went through the 5 reasons again, but tailored it to his main concern. Maybe he was freaking out because of that. It's entirely possible.
I think so. I heard it in his voice when he was talking about Home Advisor. He's like, "Yeah, we hate those." Like he didn't just say we don't. He said we hate them. So I'm assuming he lost a couple $1,000 or something because the
Well,
way he said it, he was
they
like,
tend to do bigger contracts. They tend to. They also again with the whole reselling and everything, they're trying to squeeze every dollar they can out of every lead they get, and it's just not. To me, I could be wrong on this. I mean, I guess you could say, well, they're a $631 million business, so who are you to argue with them? But I look at it, and that's annual revenue. I also look at what they could be, and I also know where they source a lot of their leads from, which, by the way, if you need a hint, take a look at any major pay-per-call affiliate network. Home Advisor is going to be contracted through them, like through MarchX or eLocal in most cases, meaning a lot of affiliates are driving phone calls to Home
Mhm.
Advisor, and Home Advisor has instantly forwarded those to the local clients that they have signed on in their areas. And they're reselling those calls. And they're lower
"Oh,
quality because it's across the board. It's affiliates that maybe aren't as trained as well as they could be. Think about that. So now they're getting all these shit calls and they're getting some good ones, but most of the good ones have already been picked up by somebody down the street because they were too late or because it wasn't exclusive. And Home Advisor started addressing the problem by charging a higher price for what they consider exclusive, but it's not the greatest experience either. And so it's still very much it was a little too little, too late kind of a thing. I'm not saying they're going downhill, but there's a reason why they made a move that big to acquire Angie's List, which happened to be a very reputable service that was built up over the years for providers, right? Or of providers and for providers. And they tapped into that because it was a good fit, but also because they know that they need to feed the beast. And with what they've been feeding the beast lately, the beast was hurting. So they decided an M&A would be better, a merger and acquisition would be better than currently doing what they're doing, because there's not been one phone call I've ever had where somebody was like, Home Advisor was the best thing since sliced bread. Yet everybody is very, very quick to tell you about the bad experience they had or the okay or mediocre experience they had with Home Advisor. 100%. So again, not bashing them, not judging them. I'm just saying there's ways to run business that they choose to run, and then there's the way we choose to run it. And there's a very clear and stark difference that when you communicate that successfully, you're going to find most clients uh, work things out logically and go, well, shit, that's worth a shot. And he's not asking for a ton of money either. Yeah, let's go. Let's give it a shot, right? And sometimes that's all it takes is you asking for them to give you a shot. Listen, man, we're nothing like Home Advisor. All I'm asking you for, I've already told you why you should do business with us. These are live exclusive calls, 5 reasons, right? I've already told you why, right? All I'm asking for is a shot. Let me show you what we can do. I'm asking to deliver 2 calls to you. Let me show you what that looks like. And then you can make a good decision, right, on how you and I move forward. Sound fair enough? Reasonable, man, right? Comes right back to that. You'll get so used to the tonal patterns very quickly with that kind of stuff. And again, the reason why I say it was such a short script and why I talked about some of the other stuff for your vertical is not only to help you, but um, give you some perspective, and also because it's so short and it keeps looping back that it's doesn't matter any of these objections. A lot of these guys, by the way, have been burned before, so you're going to be using that objection left and right. Um, and this really sucks to have to tell you this, but it's the truth. Not that I've been hiding it or anything. I just never been asked about it, but I think you should know. Like, not only have these guys been burned before, but there have been, there's been at least one student that I know of that has burned their people because they didn't reserve enough of the money initially to pay for ad spend. And it was one of my students that did that in this vertical, which sucks because it's like,
Isn't isn't the deposit like more than enough?
uh, yeah, if you don't spend it, and I don't mean 100% of it. I'm talking about. So I was asked day one, how much should I set aside, right, for ad spend? And I said, well, given the fact that we're in December, which is very similar to where we're at right now, if you haven't noticed, that's why I'm telling you
Mm-hmm.
this. Um, you're going to want to set aside 50%. Ultimately, though, 30 to 40% ongoing is going to be a good idea, even on re-ups, because it makes sure that there's enough in the tank for ad spend, right? Especially in prime
Mm-hmm.
season. But when you get to storm season, you're going to be pulling in so much money, it's not really going to fucking matter anyway. But you've got to be able to keep the clients and maintain them, manage the expectations between now and then, and acquire more clients between now and not spend that fucking money between now and then. Well,
Mm-hmm.
this person decided that, and they asked me several times. It should have been a red flag for me. Kind of was, because I said, "Don't you fucking dare spend that money." I said
Mm-hmm.
50%. You asked me. I'm telling you. You've asked me a few different times. You're trying to get that money. I'm telling you, it's untouchable. Don't even fucking think about it. Guess what?
Oh yeah. Oh no, man.
Yep.
I mean, it's a deposit. It's
Yep.
not like it's a
Well, here's the
deposit.
here's the here's the crazy thing. It's a deposit. Yeah, I get that. And so maybe technically it's not illegal, like, but you do that in some industries that are regulated, you're fucking going to jail. So the way I look at it, and ultimately he could pay it back, I guess, uh, at some point or somehow. But ultimately, even if he did, um, he's still doing something that, in my mind, is unethical. It's not something. It's not how you would want to treat your clients, right? Uh,
Yeah.
and I told him, I understood why the money was being spent, but that's not an excuse. I told him that your situation is going to require a lot of hard decisions right now that need to be made. Like you're going to have to cut back on living expenses this way, that way, do this, do that. And I'm not saying you have to do everything I'm telling you. I'm just saying what you're currently doing is not going to work with what you're building even. And just because you're pulling in the money, right? And so the money got spent so fucking quick, so quick. And there was supposed to be, for example, at a certain point, right around the start of the season when things were picking up, there was supposed to be about 12, 13 grand in ad spend, and there was less than six. And I was like, where the fuck's the money? And it's not my money, mind you, but I spent it. And I'm like, why would you do that? Right now, you can't spend the money when you need to spend it. Told you not to spend that money because the calls haven't come in yet, not all of them anyway. And he was starting to get that pickup in business, but it wasn't even at that rate. It wasn't enough for all the clients for them uh, to get the business they needed to get. And so well, I'm assuming, but based on what I saw up to the point where I stopped talking to this person, because I actually willfully stopped talking to this person, not because I don't like them, but because I, I just taught you and in how many different ways told you that was not acceptable. I can't continue teaching somebody to do this business model if they're just going to burn people like that for their own good, right? Um, I listen, man. I know hard decisions have to be made. They have to be made every day, but you can't let that impact the integrity of this business and how you do business in this business. Um, it'll cost you, and not just with me, but with every client you ever pull. So that's why I'm telling you about all this. It's super important you know that. Um, there's tons of money to be made in this vertical, but they have been burned before. I know it for a fact. I knew it before this guy pulled all that shit, but at the same time, um, now I really know it. You know what I mean? Like, not that I didn't before, but now I've had firsthand experience of seeing that happen, and it sucks. I hate that. Um, just don't be that guy. Just don't be that guy that
Oh,
does
for
that.
sure, dude.
Yeah.
My plan was set aside 100% because I saved some money just for this.
Okay, good. Well, good
So
on you.
I'm
So
not
you're
even.
in the right
Yeah,
headspace then. Yeah. And again, I
yeah.
understand like the guy that I was working with on that originally maybe wasn't in the best headspace. And I told him that. And I said, listen, not judging. I'm just saying this needs to be set aside. Don't even fucking look at it. Like I was very clear about that multiple occasions. And I was asked a few times about it. And again, I said, don't even think about it. Like you're not at that point. Lift your head up in 6 to 8 months when we're, towards the end of next year, which is this year's season. Um, then come and talk to me about spending money, right? But right now, where you're at, no. And what you're building, and you want to keep building it and build it to $1 million level, then you can't be pulling the shit you're pulling right now, or thinking about pulling by asking that question. So I knew where the headspace was, not because not because I can read your minds, or because I have a crystal ball, but when somebody asks you a few different times over the course of a month or something of whether they can spend money or not based on what you've asked them to set aside, you kind of know where their head's at. And it's kind of like, all right, man, I get it. You're dealing with some shit, but you can't touch that money. You're going to have to find another way. Going to have to find another way, right? Like pay less rent, like get rid of all the fancy things, right? Um, hard decisions, but they need to be made in order to not just protect the business, but protect your own integrity. I mean, so that's again the reason I stopped talking to that person. Not because I don't like them, right? Uh, but because of the actions. I
Mhm.
can't be associated with that, let alone be responsible. And by the way, I am responsible for teaching that person to ultimately. It's kind of like I taught a serial killer how to shoot. Even though I wouldn't call them that a serial killer or anything, I'm just
It's
saying it would be
it's
the
like you
equivalent.
it's like you raised the bad kid and now they're out and about messing
Yeah,
shit
well,
up.
and the thing is that it's not like I didn't teach the bad kid exactly what right from wrong was and give them very clear
Hmm.
instructions on why to do and what to do and what not to do and all that. Um, the kid chose to be bad or do bad things. And I say bad things, again, technically not illegal, but guarantee you those clients have been burned. And are they going to be more open to hearing your offer? No, they're not. At the same time, there's a reason why I've got this been burned before objection. It's not just for this vertical, it's for a few others as well. Um, and so use this. Some people try to lower the price per call. No, use this. Use this right here on your screen. Well, not your Zoom screen, but on the Facebook screen. Anyway, do you have, I feel like I don't want to drone on. I don't want to put people to sleep, but I feel like we're covering some really good stuff. Is there anything else you feel like maybe you need help with? I mean, we've talked about the urgency, the reassurance, the tonal patterns, the correct
Pretty
script,
much,
all that stuff.
pretty much all set. The only thing, when I go from, like when I go, is that fair enough? Or does that sound good? And
right.
Yeah, sound fair enough. And I get the yes. I go into, are you in front of a computer right now?
Nope, you don't ask, because the answer is always going to be what?
No. And then I just do it on the phone.
Right. So, well, yeah, but you don't ask the yes or no question, right? Because you're going to get a no most of the time, or you open yourself
Mm-hmm.
up at the very least to a yes or a no. Instead, what you
Mm-hmm.
want to say is, okay, great, head to suchandsuch.com. Assume they have the ability to
Okay.
do it. You know why?
Because they do.
They
They're on
do.
the phone.
Between their phone and between their computer, they got the ability to do it right there, right now. Oh, I'm driving. I'm in the middle of driving. Listen, find a Wendy's and make a joke out of it. Of course, I always like to add levity. Listen, find a Wendy's. Oh, you got a KFC right there. Okay, great. Pull in the parking lot real quick. I tell them how to drive, and be careful. Be sure you don't hit nobody. Now put it in park. And of course, they're fucking laughing. I'm joking with them, but at the same time, it's almost like, again, put it in park. I got to get my neck sewn up, right? I'm bleeding out by the neck here, right? So put it in
Mm-hmm.
park. All right, now take your smartphone, put it on speaker. I'll walk them through step by step. Now pull up your browser. Oh, you use Chrome? I love Chrome too. That's all I have on my phone. I got an Android. I use Chrome like crazy. All right. Uh, okay, go to suchandsuch.com, paymedown.com. All right, you should see when you get there a blue button towards the top. See where it says "Let's get started." Yeah, or "Get started now." Yeah, that's it. Click that button real quick. Okay. Now you should see the option there for 2 calls, 250. Well, what's these other options? Oh, well, again, I wanted to start small with you. I'm not trying to pull a ton of money out of you or nothing. That's not what we're here to do. I'm here to show you what we can do, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
well, maybe I want mold calls. Okay, well, then select the option. You're not going to fight them on giving you more
Mm-hmm.
money, right, and doing more business with you initially, but you're asking to start small. They're all small options, by the way. You don't ever put any big options in there. But they get to see, okay, this guy also drives mold calls and shit like that. You follow?
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So they select the option from the drop down. You just tell them, okay, now all you got to do is punch in your information at the bottom there, and as soon as you hit submit, I'm going to stay on the line with you right here so I can confirm it comes through and everything. But you just fill out your information, hit the submit button, let me know when you've done that, and then we'll talk about what comes next. Notice how I said we'll talk about what comes next, right? So that way they know they're not just hitting the payment and I'm going to hang up. They're submitting a payment and they say, okay, I submitted it, and then you say, okay, great. You should see another page. It says at the top, congratulations. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, first off, hey, I see the payment came through on my end as well. Welcome. I think you've made a very wise decision, very wise investment. Uh, can't wait to get started with you. I'm excited. Here's the deal. I need this information, that information, that information. I know you're on the road. You just had to pull over, whatever. You got to get back on the road. You should already have an email in your inbox. Can you check that real quick for me? Just make sure the email's there. Yes. Okay, great. When you get done with your call, whatever you're on, or have 20 minutes or whatever at lunch, uh, respond to that email, because I'm asking you. I need to know the phone number you want the calls delivered to, the locations you serve, the products and services, specifically the ones that make you the most money, and your hours. And you can do that in 5 minutes on an email. Or if you want, we can have a call later today. The whole point is you run them through the next steps. not just take
Mhm.
their money and say thanks, right? And go,
Mhm.
excuse me, and go set everything up. You need to communicate exactly, like telegraph every move that's coming their way. It's not like you're just going to pop them surprise. It's like, hey, I'm telegraphing this punch is coming your way, pal. Right? Like that's
Mhm.
that way they're not caught off guard or hit with something unexpected. Right? You manage
Mhm.
everything expectation wise from the beginning, including walking through the entire sales process over the phone. Now, you can't ask for card information over the phone directly or accept it. Really, I say you can't. I guess you can, but if you want to be PCI compliant and not be at risk for losing your entire merchant processor and or third-party processor like Stripe or PayPal, then you're going to want to stay PCI compliant. And there are people that, for some reason, have been teaching out there in this industry to use to pull card information. Like they coded. Actually, listen to this.
Mhm.
There's a software right now that has it hard coded into their platform, a terminal. You know what a terminal is, right? A payment terminal,
Yep.
where you can actually, on your end as an admin, collect the card information over the phone, right? Which sounds great at first and easy because you can just ask them what their card digits are, punch it all in. The problem is terminals are meant to be used for in-person purchasing, not over the phone, which
Mhm.
means that sale is now not PCI compliant. And on top of that, if a dispute were to be filed on that, you have no leverage whatsoever, no standing whatsoever, because it was not an in-person sale and you used a terminal to do that. And
Mhm.
while there are people out there within this industry teaching that kind of stuff or shit, you're gonna be happy with where you're at because you're not being led down the path of uh, having your merchant account turned off. I mean, could you imagine learning from somebody that? Now, why would somebody teach that and code it into software? You might ask. If you haven't asked that, you should be asking that. Why would somebody teach that? It's because they don't have direct enough experience uh, with well, doing big business. I mean, when you're a bigger business, you run into these kinds of things. They the merchant processors and third-party processors talk to you, have these kinds of conversations with you about these, and they're usually not proactive. So you have to be the proactive one to make sure that you stay within compliance. And the other reason is because of lack of experience. Um, it sounded, like I said, it sounds like a good idea, and like, hey, let me code that in because it's going to be awesome. Somebody can give me their payment information over the phone. It makes the sale easier, and while it does, it also makes it against terms of service for merchant processors and third-party processors. Which means, by the way, it's not like a slap on the wrist. They put you on a blacklist. You know what a blacklist is?
You can't sign up again, basically.
Yeah, you are fucked, right?
Mhm.
Like, there's no nice way to say that one. You're just fucked. I mean, as fucked as fuck gets pretty much on that one. And you got somebody out there not only teaching it, but hard coding it into software. Holy shit, right? Um, that's why I always talk about it's important to do your due diligence on who you learn from and where they're getting their information from or where they've gotten their information from. And more times than not, the people that have been in the field and have the direct experience are going to be able to be the ones that point you in the right direction on that. Um, as it happens in that case, you're talking about someone who knows how to drive phone calls and do so through advertising to a point, right? And even profitable points. But at the same time, when it comes to the client side, not just management of expectations and all that stuff, but clients in general, acquisition all the way through management and things like that, um, their experience is extremely limited, and it shows in some of the recommendations they're making and some of the things that they're coding into that particular software that I'm thinking of. And that's one example. There are many others like that, but there's reasons why we have and what we have and what we don't have, and what we plan on adding and in which ways and how to limit your exposure, right? To protect you and your clients from this kind of stuff happening potentially. That's what would really suck. I mean, could you imagine let's say you learn from somebody else, right? And you learn how to build this pay-per-call business, and you get 50 clients, 100 clients, hell, even 500 clients. The bigger you get, the more you've got, the further you got to fall. And all of a sudden, your third-party processor finds out you're not PCI compliant because you've been learning from somebody that's taught you to do that that way. And there goes your $500,000 a year business, right? Or $5 million a year business because you can no longer accept payments. Now, if you're on a blacklist, there's certain things that you're going to be able to do, but you're not going to be able to retain all those clients when you switch over to a new platform. Guarantee it. You're going to have some loss, which means your business is going to take a hit. And not only is it going to take a hit, the processors that you put into place may not be as popular. Hell, they may even be more strict. They may treat you with as a high risk, which is entirely possible if you were to get an account in some of these places. There's so much that it costs you so much, not just in money, but in time and stress and blood pressure, quality of life. Yes, money. Yes, some staff. Yes, some momentum and growth in the business, all because of what someone thinks is right, as opposed to just doing a little bit of homework on things like PCI compliance. Like, really? I mean, who doesn't? And to me, it's almost like, man, if you run a platform and you're teaching people how to, keep in mind, running a platform is one thing, right? For call tracking, running a platform for call tracking and actually client management, you've got to actually know how to manage the clients, and not only manage the clients, but know how to, what's frowned upon when taking payments and why, and not just by William because he thinks so or anything, right? But I'll tell you right now, if there's a reason I frown on it, there's probably a damn good reason by another company or by a third party that says this is against our terms. I'm not going to steer you in a place that's going to be that's going to be a potential detriment to your business like that. I would never do that, and I don't think anybody else would do it intentionally. I'd like to think better of people than that. But that doesn't mean it doesn't happen unintentionally, just due to lack of experience, that kind of thing. But it's super important for me to point that out because when you look at, for example, I'm looking at this script here, and those little differences, right, in terms of the changes you made on the words versus what we just covered and how we covered it all and all that. That makes a huge difference, right? Those 1 degree changes make a huge difference in where you land destination wise. Like, you're going to have your tonal patterns are going to be super dialed in. The script you're reading is going to be super dialed in, and now you're at the point where you know what it's going to sound like at the end of the call when you walk them through. Notice a lot of that stuff I just can't really, I gotta say can't. It's stuff that's not going to translate well on a call script talking about what comes after the call and how you, once you finally get somebody to that point of purchase and has submitted the button, what you say next steps, right? What comes next, all that kind of stuff. That has to be taught the way I'm teaching it now, pretty much, for it to be the most effective. That's also why I say, hey, go learn the script, memorize it, learn it. That way, when we do talk, we can talk about things like this. You'll be able to absorb them and apply it directly to the script that you've learned, and that you can then use on the phone. So, yeah, I think differences like that, differences that just come from inexperience from a lot of other. Not that everybody else out there that teaches this stuff is inexperienced. I'm just saying there's examples that come to mind where they can cost you from that inexperience, and some even the entire business. Whereas what I teach you to do is walk them through the sales page, have them punch in their information. It's secured, PCI compliant. The last four, how you know, is going to be things like the last 4 digits show up in Stripe. You'd be like, okay, so that's protected, PCI compliant. Got it. There's 256-bit encryption. Cool. In case anybody else asks you, because they may ask you, is this payment secure? Absolutely. 2 things: PayPal protection if you're using PayPal, and or Stripe protection, right? You have the chargeback ability on the card, and we're PCI compliant. Like, and what I mean by that, Mr. Potential Client, is I see your payment just came through, right? And all I see is the last 4 of your card. And I'll be like, that's how you know we're PCI compliant. By the way, Do you sound like a pro when you start talking about things that even others that teach don't know what they're talking about? Yes, you do.
Oh yeah, they
Very
feel
much
more
so.
confident
They
about
do.
what they
Well,
just sent you.
not even just confident, but they have more reassurance from you that that you're the real deal. The only
Hmm.
thing they're missing at this point is what? A phone call from you that they have
Yep.
now paid for that says, "Yep, this guy's the real fucking deal." Right?
Hmm. Hmm.
That's it. So anyway, happy to help as always. Glad we got you set up on the right script. I'll make sure that a copy of this should already be in the Facebook group, but I'll make sure that an updated copy, like is shown
Hmm.
was shown earlier, is posted in the Facebook group as well as in the training area and in the software. Um, but yeah, that should already be there. But I'll make sure it's there again, and that way everybody else has access to it. Any other
Hmm.
questions? Because I need to check the comments here, and then I think we're gonna bounce.
Dude, I'm totally set. This,
Okay.
I'm, I'm completely set, man. I mean, this is crazy. This is like one-on-one for free. Like, this is unheard
Well,
of, man. Thank you so much, man.
you're welcome. And I wouldn't say it's free. I mean, it's your cost is very low. It does cost your time though. So there's always a cost to everything. Always be thinking in that way. Not that that's a bad way to think either. It's a realist way to think. Hey, everything I do costs me something, time, money. I learned that actually. Quick side note from my father, who said, and I don't agree with this, but I kind of do. It's weird. I didn't like how he positioned it, and so I'm just going to say what he said, and then I'll elaborate. He said, "Son, women will cost you something, no matter what. Every relationship you're ever in, you're gonna pay something." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Keep in mind I'm young." So he said, "Well, when you're dating, they're going to cost you your time. You go out to a movie and some dinner, and they're going to cost you some money and some time, right? If you have a fight and she wins, it doesn't matter if she wins or not. Uh, Most of the time she will, but she's going to cost you emotional stress, cause you emotional stress. She's going to take away from your good mental state of being, right? She's going to cost you emotionally, physically, even if she hits you, uh, physically if you have to um, help her out somehow, and you know what I'm saying. It's going to cost you something, and in most cases, more than one thing for each scenario. And the reason I didn't like that or appreciate that so much at the time, obviously, I couldn't put this together because I was still very much learning. And look at who
Hmm.
I was learning from. You kind of like, wow, what an asshole. Uh, I
A little
wouldn't disagree.
cynical, a little.
Well, it's a little my ass. He was very cynical. He used to say things like, "There's a lot of freaks, fucks, and fools in the world, right? That you got to watch out for." That was a thing
So
he used to
everyone's
say.
bad.
Exactly. My dad was like, I'm not saying he was a conspiracy guy or anything. He actually liked conspiracies, but not to that degree. So for him to say that, it was just like he was so jaded and so negative, man. If anything, he gave me a perfect example of who I don't want to be, right? Um, Not that he was always like that in his life. I didn't know him for the last 15 years of his life, so I can't really say. But I have good indicators that show me that not much changed, if anything at all. Right? Getting older doesn't make you necessarily wiser, and it certainly doesn't mellow you out. You just get older and less able to do some of the things you would normally do. That doesn't make you a better person. It just means you just don't have it in you anymore to be a total fucking asshole, right? You're just kind of an asshole because you're older. So uh, that said, I still honored my father's wishes for when he passed away, and I took care of his ashes and all that stuff. And I, I his dog is now my dog, right? And I didn't do that out of
Hmm.
guilt or anything. I did that because she needed a good home, and I wanted to make sure that because I was in the market for a rescue dog anyway. I was like, well, fuck, there's not a better one that I could rescue than that one, and don't regret that a minute of my life for sure. I love that dog. Um, and she, well, forget that for a second. Come back to the whole perspective. Forget about what he said about dating and relationships and that it'll cost you something. It's true to a point. It's very, very negative how he positioned it. But here's what I want you to understand: every interaction, everything you do is going to cost you something, right? So
Hmm.
yes, ring ads is free for life, and I think it should be. And the reason I think it should be is because the costs that you have to pay starting out bootstrapping, right? $5 today is going to be completely different from when you're a multimillionaire and have to pay $5. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It's a
Yep.
much higher price. And your time, the 2 hours you can squirrel away today from your 9 to 5 is a much higher price for you than it will be when you have all your fucking time back. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So I look at it
Hmm.
as everything costs something. Now, I do sell stuff for sure, and I appreciate your appreciation. I'm very grateful to be able to be in the position to serve you guys like this and do so without really seemingly limits. I'm sure there are limits, but only natural ones like I need sleep and shit like that. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm happy to do so, right? As long as you guys understand that yes, there's a cost to it. You're paying that cost on your end, and as long as you understand that, know that, use that to your advantage, and get your money's worth out of your time spent with me. Get your like we did with the sales script, for example, and us talking about your market. That was a good couple hours well spent. That couple hours will save you. I don't even want to think about how much time, probably weeks, maybe even months. It will save you from a lot of hard learned lessons from other people's mistakes, um, even from people that I've taught in the past in that vertical. So it's extremely specific to you. But again, it goes pretty wide to everybody else in the industry. Um, and all those things kind of add up to uh, time well spent as long as you apply what you learn. And I think that's the biggest thing is that you're going to have to start. You've already been working, don't get me wrong. Keep applying what you've been learning. You're going to see the results
Hmm.
from it. They're going to come fast and hard. And at that point, we course correct and keep you moving on things like uh, the campaign optimization, well, campaign setup and optimization, your duplication processes, and then the systems and processes for building up for your first hire, that kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
I think that's going to make a big difference in how fast the business grows for sure. So there's a cost. I would say the value is definitely there, which is I think why you're saying thank you, and I appreciate that again. I just want you to understand that it did cost you something to be here today. Maybe not necessarily money, but well, in a form of electricity, cost you some money. Cost you. You laugh, but I'm telling the truth. It takes more electricity to run. It ain't free to run a fucking computer. That shit ain't free. Um, Lights in the house. And now some of this stuff you're already going to be running anyway. I get that. At the same time, though, it ain't free. It does cost. So on things that do cost money, especially for bootstrapping, that's one of the reasons, one of the many why I said, you know what, Ring Ads is going to be free for life for everybody, right? Free for life for everybody because you need to be able to build the business so that you can come back and reinvest with us. That's what we want. Can you do that at larger stages up front? Absolutely. For people that want to supercharge or move faster or think they can move faster, or for people who just don't have a care in the world and want to spend all their money jump starting up front, by all means. And the offers that I have initially are not, hell, even the higher up ones are not going to break the bank for people in those positions. So overall, very good deal all around. I would agree with that. Um, but it does cost. It does cost. I just want to be 100% realist with you and tell you full transparency. The most people be like, "Yeah, isn't it amazing? It's free and toot toot, right? Toot their own horn and shit." Uh, yeah, it costs, right? But I happen to feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I happen to feel that the cost is more than worth its weight, right? It's more than worth the
Yeah.
cost. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
just go apply
For
it. That's the
sure.
biggest thing. That's the biggest thing
Yeah,
I can
man.
tell you.
You did your job for sure. I'm gonna. I mean, I want to give someone else time because people probably have questions.
Yeah, I'm looking at the
But yeah,
comments and I'll get to them. But I just want to make sure you're set. You're good.
100%, man. Thank
Okay.
you so much. 100%.
You're
Thank you, man.
welcome, dude. Go get it this week and next week. You've got the plan. You've got the man. The wait.
Hmm.
What the reason I also spent the extra time right now? Today's Sunday. The reason I spent the time with you on that script. You've got this afternoon, tomorrow morning, to really just review this 2 or 3 times, and of course you can edit it, cut out pieces, or fast forward through some of the stuff where we talk about maybe vertical specific. because you probably only need to hear
Mhm.
that once or twice. But script wise, right, it's broken up into two main chunks there. You listen to those over and over, get super dialed in on the tonal patterns, super dialed in on the new script. Man, you are going to close so much fucking business this week.
Mhm.
I can't wait. Like you should be,
Mhm.
that's where you should be at, what you should be working on and focused on all the way through 1 p.m. Uh, Christmas Eve. That's what I was trying to say. Christmas Eve. So you do
Mhm.
your thing, man. You're set. You're in a great position. You're in a great vertical. You've got a great script. Um, get after it, right?
Awesome.
Get
Awesome.
after it.
Thanks.
All right. Uh, let's head over to comments real quick. Let's take a look here. Adrian says, do you know a way to use the Google Maps contact extractor to scrape multiple cities at the same time? Save each city separately. For example, Doral, Florida is, or Doral, Doral to me. Doral, Florida is one file. Los Angeles is another. When Scrapebox was recommended, I would open 50 to 100 Scrapebox tabs at the same time, multi-thread. I got you. On the computer, get 500 plus cities scraped in a day. Google Maps contact extractor, I'm basically doing one city at a time, and it gets exhausting because I have to set a countdown timer, and every 15 minutes I check my computer to save each city. The other day I scraped 20 cities, and it took me about 12 hours because I was multitasking a lot. So I'm looking for a faster way if you know, please. Yes, and it's a great question, very specific. Thank you for that, Adrian. What I would tell you is this: you can do anywhere from, depending on your computer's performance and your internet speed, you can you can run 3 to 5 cities at a time. 3 to 5 is what I would run at a time. And then, of course, as you pull that data in, you're going to want to sort it based on those cities, just in case you need to break them up by the city. But 3 to 5 cities at a time would be how I would do it, straight down that Wikipedia list, right? Be a very, very quick way for you to, an efficient way for you to do that, so you don't have to be chained to the desk, right? I know that feeling too, brother. So hopefully that answers that question well for you. Let's see. John says this is a great session. I've spent lots of time with the script, and listening now has made me realize I need to get some of my tonal patterns better. Yeah, and by the way, and I love that comment, John. By the way, if you notice, it's not just about tonal patterns, but do you notice how when you get your tonal patterns right, the urgency is there, the reassurance is there, right? I'm not saying it's always going to be there. I'm just saying when you get your tonal patterns right, it's at least evident and shows up in those tonal patterns, 100%. So good job on that for recognizing that. Jeff says I'm going to have to bounce. Have a great day. All right. Peace. Later. Adrian says, just come back and watch the recording. Adrian says, personally, I would not touch any money a client pays until they're recurring for at least 3 months. Delivery to the client and building the relationship is first. I would rather go sell fruits on the roadside, exactly, to pay bills in the meantime, worst case scenario if things were that bad. I mean, imagine, and I agree with you, Adrian. Thank you for sharing that, because I need to know that you guys think like this. I know that that was kind of an exception. It just really sucked because I was working with that person, helping build their agency, and they built an agency that most of you would fucking kill for today. You'll get there, don't get me wrong, but man, if I told you you had uh, 60 clients, for example, you'd be like, what? Right? That would be awesome. Um, and so if you have 60 clients and those are the kinds of challenges you're dealing with, that's the right attitude to have, Adrian. Go sell some fucking fruit first on the side of the road before you have to do that. I agree, man. I'm not saying you know what's great about what we do and how we do it? You wouldn't have to do that. You wouldn't have to go sell fruit on the side of the road at that point, right? You just have to be a better steward of your money, right? It's not like I said keep 100%. I said keep 50, at least 50, which means you don't even need to spend your 50, but what if you did? As long as you didn't spend more than that, you'd be all right, right? You'd be able to deliver, and that's the main thing. Um, and I'll tell you something: when you've got 60 some odd clients, 70 clients, and you've got in that vertical, of course, right? We talked about that. You're looking at deposits of anywhere from 500 to $1,000, 1,200 bucks. So call it an average of like $700 a deposit per client. You're looking at 40, 50 grand, and half of that you're going to be able to spend. Now, do you need to go spend half of that? No, And so it's still a good idea to be a good steward, or you might be frugal, at least at that point. That's correct. That whole recurring re-ups for 3 months, yeah, it's something where, yeah, you've got the right idea. I wouldn't necessarily put a label on it. I think it could be had for a lot faster than that. But given the time of year we're in for that particular vertical, every vertical is different again, but that vertical, excuse me, with the seasons the way it is, I would say 3 months would be a good starting point. It may take a little bit longer to get into season and show the real volume of calls, talk about the storm chasing, all that kind of stuff, right? That we talked about earlier. But yeah, I mean, it should, you've got the right mindset, Adrian, for sure. And not that that was ever really in question, uh, but I like seeing that puts a smile on my face, makes me know that, lets me know that I'm doing the right thing, teaching you guys this stuff. Uh, it's sad but true that I need to teach that. And again, it's not that I don't like that person. It's just not it's not something I can be around, right? And yeah, it is what it is. Nothing else I can really say about that. I think everybody's got the idea here, and looks like we're good to go on questions. Not seeing anything in the Zoom. Nobody pending. Okay, we're looking good. I say we bounce out of here. It's been almost 3 hours. Again, uh, that's not our goal. Our goal is an hour, but actually tomorrow is going to have to be an hour because it's Monday and I have the mentorship calls at noon. So tomorrow, prepare, plan. It's going to be an hour, and we're in and out and under that. Last time I had to, I went over and it cost me because I had to take a few minutes and set up a new stream for the mentorship. I don't want to have to do that for tomorrow. So um, we're going to be under an hour tomorrow, not like way under necessarily, but uh, definitely under an hour tomorrow for Monday. And then the same is going to happen next Monday, the 28th, which is a coaching call uh, and a live stream for the main group. So 3 calls again and next Monday. But anyway, that said, let's bounce out of here. Let's go. Let's go to work. Appreciate each and every one of you. Keep your clients' interest as your own. Make sure you're in alignment with what I teach on the training, and you're going to go far. Notice I'm not going to beat you over the head. We're going to course correct, and I'm going to get you on the path you need to go to or be on to see the results that you want to see. Right? That's the main thing. Right? I'm never going to course correct you because it's because I enjoy beating you up or something. I want to see you produce the results. That's what I enjoy. The way I know you're going to be able to see results is by following what I teach word for word. And as it turned out, it just happened to be an outdated script or a different script, which sounds like position one versus for scaling versus what I teach you to be saying on the phone, right? So that said, simple fixes, but man, gave us the ability to cover tunnel patterns. Also, the whole meanings behind the script and the fact that you actually legitimately want to work with somebody for the next 20 to 30 years as a client. Uh, all that stuff, right? How to actually manage the client, manage the expectations, walk them through the sale, handle the objections before that. Man, so much good stuff covered. Okay, let's bounce out of here. Uh, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. And again, we'll go for just under an hour and at the most, and on from there, right? So prep, get everything going. If you haven't got everything going, get ready to jump on the phone, review the sales script, get good tonal patterns, make sure you know the words of the script, review the objections, know burned a lot. Do they have a lot of partnerships where they have to talk to their partner legitimately, or are they just bullshitting you about the partner wife dog thing? All that kind of stuff, right? Get good at it. Get good at the idea of walking somebody through paying you on your page, on your site, rather. Um, don't take card information over the phone. I think that one's pretty clear. Even if somebody else is teaching it, please, for the love of God, don't do that. It will eventually cost you, especially when third parties and merchant accounts find out you're fucked. So please don't do that, because I would hate to see anybody build up a business that's of significant value be completely trashed by that. So please don't do that. But do what you've been taught. Build the website, have them check out using their information. It's all PCI compliant. It's all protected. You can confirm that with them, and you come off like an absolute hero, which is exactly what you are, at least by my standards. You service your clients' needs, and your clients service the customer's needs or consumer's needs, and really none of that would happen without you. So yeah, you're definitely heroes in my book. All right, let's bounce out of there on that note. I'll catch you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. All right, bye for now.
Cool. You folk. Back on my shit with a new advantage. I leave it up to you to settle the damage. Diamond, yeah, I know it's foreign to him. I came from the guts of rural Alabama. Steph Curry wrist, watch what they handle. Simple motives, gotta lead by example. Not too many make it out when they doubt. Never been about bailing off of my route. Rain gang got the city HD. Hate to see my brother die every week. Numb to your vision. My life got me too fucked up. Disrespect to make a nigga go dumb. Pillow talking while you nursing that bitch and turn you to a scrub. I let prices from the plug. Bay Shore, Ocean View, I win Adidas with the boots. Niggas out here slinging arbitrage, so the money really no excuse. Welcome to the realm.